Chapter 1238. In the new month, I'm asking for a guaranteed monthly ticket from my brothers. Let's do this. It was as if the goddess of wisdom had foreseen how dangerous the paragon of judgment was, and that his fate was extremely difficult to change. In fact, she didn't seem to have any intention of helping him reverse his fate at all. More importantly, he had a feeling that she was secretly plotting something inconceivable at this moment. This matter might even be related to the paragon of judgment's life and death. The 9 primeval paragons seemed to be on the same side, but that didn't mean that there wasn't a single trace of discord between them. If it was for their own sake, it wouldn't be surprising if they were scheming against each other. The goddess of wisdom gazed deeply into the void, into the primal chaos, making it difficult for others to understand her intentions. At this moment, in another temple, there was a solemn, cold, and oppressive pressure everywhere. Strands of the will of judgment formed a net of law that covered every inch of space in the temple. The paragon of judgment was seated at the head of the temple. Similarly, the goddess of darkness and the god king of light were seated within. The 3 paragons opened their eyes at the same time. Judgment, there are only 3 years left. Are you confident? The god king of light looked at the paragon of judgment. Humph! I've already returned to my peak condition, and I can kill anything at any time. I admit that the Yao Emperor's performance in the Skysplit Tower was truly world-shaking, far surpassing that of a half-step ruler. However, I'm already a late-stage primeval paragon, and I've already taken out several supreme treasures. My strength is definitely at its peak. As long as the Yao Emperor hasn't become a ruler, he'll definitely die. No matter how strong an ant is, it's still an ant. I'll let him know that an ant wanting to defy the heavens is nothing more than wishful thinking. The paragon of judgment's face was filled with boundless dignity. There was no savagery on his face. Instead, he appeared very calm, as if he had adjusted his state of mind to its peak. There was neither joy nor sorrow as he made his final preparations for the battle to the death. Judgment, there's no need to worry. We 9 primeval paragons have roamed the primal chaos for countless years. How could we possibly fear the Yao Emperor, a newly risen emperor? I refuse to believe that he'll be able to do anything in 10 short years. How could the path from half-step sovereign to sovereign be so easily traversed? Not to mention that if something unexpected really happens, then we'll naturally utilize our strongest trump card. At that time, no matter how powerful the demon emperor is, he will still die in our hands. A hint of ridicule appeared at the corner of the dark goddess' mouth. However, we still have to be careful. Although the 9 great supremes are united, the 3 of us are closer to each other. The others also have their own groups, so we have to be careful in everything we do. Now that we've revealed our trump card, it's hard to guarantee that the others won't have any thoughts about it. We have no choice but to be on guard. The radiant God King's eyes flickered with shrewdness as he said slowly, "That's right. However, if we can occupy the demon court, it will be more precious than any treasure. If we can obtain it, even if we form our own faction, no one will be able to do anything to us. Even the great chaos calamity won't affect us." The dark goddess nodded meaningfully, her voice carrying a trace of coldness. In the fiend's celestial continent, the 9 supreme divine wills quickly clashed with each other in the void. The promise of 10 years is coming soon. It's also time for us to head to the chaos calamity. This time, we'll act according to the circumstances and act according to the plan we've planned, the fateless demon ancestor said in a deep voice. That lowly servant, Meishin, actually dared to go against my will. This is the time of her death. I'll let her know what the consequences of betraying me are. The heart-devouring demon ancestor muttered to himself viciously. The other demon ancestors also had their own plans. After a discussion with their divine wills, they immediately saw a vast demon palace appear out of thin air. It carried an oppressive force that caused the void to distort. With a slight tremble, it directly broke through the void and entered the chaos calamity. The purple gold continent. As the countless cultivators from the various worlds migrated back to the purple gold continent, they were scattered in the various worlds around the continent. Some were ordinary life forms, while most of the cultivators had left. Even the celestial realm seemed to be showing signs of migration recently. This made the various worlds seem a little bleak. At this moment, in the demon realm, the vast world was still emitting pure demon chi. The essence chi of heaven and earth seemed to be quite abundant. Among the essence chi, there was also an extremely dense demon chi. However, the entire demon realm seemed to be in an incredible seal. There was a spatial barrier, and it was impossible to pass through. This caused this world to become a sealed land. In the demon battlefield under the demon realm, there was no trace of any demon race. On the contrary, groups of demon gods of all shapes and sizes were roaming around. Dense demon chi permeated every inch of the void. Countless demonic beasts were running around wantonly, slaughtering each other, displaying the strong aggressiveness of the demon gods. Densely packed demon beasts and demon gods were distributed in every inch of the demon battlefield. A murderous aura filled the air. Back then, after Di Shurtion brought all the demon race in the demon realm and left the demon realm in one go, the demon gods entered the demon realm. With the opening of the tunnel, the demon gods once again entered in batches. In the end, the place was filled with demon gods and demonic beasts. This place was like a miniature demon god continent. Endless demon chi was seeping into the demon realm. This place seemed to be a stepping stone for the demon gods to attack the purple gold continent. This was a strategic location. Whoosh! Whoosh! Just at this moment, the entire demon battlefield trembled intensely. It was like an earthquake. What's going on? The blood on the ground is quickly disappearing. Something is sucking the blood away. Strange. Why did the bones on the battlefield suddenly turn into powder? Why is the flesh and blood mysteriously disappearing? Underground, there must be something doing underground. Various strange phenomena appeared in the demon battlefield. First, the red-stained soil started to drain blood at a visible rate. Then, the blood mysteriously disappeared, restoring the color of the ground. After that, the flesh and blood continuously disintegrated. A boundless dangerous aura came from underground. However, before the demon gods had a chance to react, the ground suddenly flipped over and a vast ancient diagram emerged out of nowhere. Countless demon gods, god-fiends, and all living beings appeared on the ancient diagram. The praises of the god-fiends came from the diagram. Strands of Tao patterns formed countless mysterious killing formations. They formed the array diagram. Boom, boom, boom. The ancient diagram rolled and retracted, sucking in all the demon gods and demonic beasts in the entire demon battlefield and even the entire demon realm. With a gentle shake, all the demon gods turned into powder. An overwhelming mighty force spread out from the ancient diagram. A deep sigh could be heard from the ancient map. Amid the sigh, the ancient diagram passed through the demon realm and disappeared in the blink of an eye. To the ancient diagram, the seal on the demon realm did not seem to exist at all. It left easily. Rumble. As the ancient diagram left, the demon realm, which had just regained its vitality, immediately rumbled intensely. Earthquakes, volcanoes, abysses, cracks, and other phenomena appeared one after another, collapsing continuously. The void was collapsing, and the flowers, grass, and trees withered rapidly. Their vitality was mysteriously taken away. From the edge of the demon realm, one could see the void collapsing inch by inch. In the blink of an eye, the entire demon realm collapsed, turning into nothingness, shattering into nothingness. In the dead sea of chaos. Primal chaos ancient tablet, dispel the fog, control the chaos, I am the sovereign. For a few years, under the unceasing tempering of the Empyrean flames, the gigantic stone monument was now completely covered in a violet gold glow. On the stone monument, the image of Sakra could be seen floating in the air. A feeling of complete control of the ancient primal chaos city appeared clearly in his mind. In every inch of the void in the ancient city, he was the supreme ruler. Rumble. The moment the tablet was refined, the tablet shuddered and suddenly rose from the ground. It turned into a purplish-golden sun that shone with billions of strands of purplish-golden light. It shone in all directions. Every strand of light contained a supreme will. Wherever it went, the mist that enveloped the ancient city would disperse at a visible rate like snowflakes in summer. In an instant, the innate spiritual treasures and spiritual roots in the ancient city appeared one after another. Tion, dressed in a black imperial robe, stood proudly in the void. He pointed at the ancient city and scolded, "The ancient city and the demon court, merge into one and establish a supreme foundation." Rumble. The primal chaos city shone with primal chaos divine light. On the city walls of the ancient city, pages of epic history flickered with divine light. The scenes on the pages were vivid and lifelike. The entire ancient city gave off an ancient and boundless feeling. Endless power was present in the ancient city. Vaguely, a giant seemed to be awakening. The demon court was also extraordinary. The 4 heavenly gates burst out with 9-colored divine light, and millions of colorful threads hung down. Countless fairies danced around the demon court. 3,000 great daos condensed into pillars of heaven, supporting the operation of heaven and earth, and a fine net of law shrouded the void. It was faintly discernible among the auspicious clouds. It exuded a majestic aura, the aura of immortality. The 2 ancient cities shook at the same time. A strange phenomenon occurred. Immediately, countless monsters and cultivators in the demon court were awakened from their cultivation. Looking at the 2 ancient cities bursting with divine light, they seemed to understand what was going on in front of them, and showed a look of anticipation and excitement. Yes, it's His Majesty. His Majesty has finally taken control of the ancient city. It seems that he intends to merge the ancient city with the demon court and help it advance again. The aura emanating from the ancient city is even more ancient than our demon court. It seems to be more powerful, and it's at least an immortal artifact. I wonder what kind of changes will occur when 2 immortal artifacts merge. If it can directly break through to an immemorial artifact, that will be a supreme opportunity. Countless monsters discussed with an incomparably optimistic attitude. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidien.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1240. Today's 3rd update has been delivered. Brothers, if you have a guaranteed monthly vote, please help me give it to Wan Yao. Monthly votes are in short supply. If the ancient chaotic city and the Lingxiao demon court merged, the future would be even brighter. Tion controlled the ancient chaotic city and the Lingxiao demon court. If they merged, it wouldn't be too surprising. Even Myriad Tribulation Ancestor, Lightning Ancestor, and Ghost King, who were half-step sovereigns, were looking forward to it, not to mention the demons and cultivators in the demon court. Myriad Tribulation Ancestor sighed. I was born from the first tribulation chi in the world. I have a strong foundation, and I broke through to become an unparalleled expert. My battle strength allowed me to roam the ancient times. Wherever I went, cultivators would be defeated, and my cultivation improved by leaps and bounds. I once made a name for myself, and I killed countless demon gods in the ancient times. Now that I've returned from the tribulation, I've become a half-step sovereign. My life can be described as a grand epic, but my life can't compare to the short time I spent with the demon court. I witnessed the demon court become immortal, the demon emperor kill Tion, the demon court become immortal, the 10-year leap, the dead chaotic sea, the carefree islands and carefree scholar. Now, I'm lucky enough to witness the fusion of the ancient chaos city and the demon court. The shifter emperor is indeed the most unpredictable variable in the primal chaos. A miracle! He sighed. He had an indescribable feeling for D. Shirtion. Haha, myriad tribulation, I'm lucky enough to witness the rise of such a prodigy. I'll be happy for the rest of my life. Lightning Ancestor laughed loudly. This ancient chaos city is definitely not inferior to the demon court. It might even surpass it. It's a superior grade immortal artifact, or even a peak immortal artifact. I wonder how many great path pillars there are inside. The Ghost King said in a deep voice as he looked solemnly at the boundless ancient city of chaos that exuded traces of time. Boom, boom, boom. The ancient chaos city and the demon court quickly approached each other under D. Shirtion's control. As they got closer, the two immortal artifacts influenced each other, and great path pillars appeared at the same time. The 3,000 great paths in the demon court didn't fall, and some of them had even materialized. Primal chaos. However, in the ancient city of chaos, cries that truly belonged to the primal chaos were heard. Great daos rose into the sky one after another. 1, 2. Hiss! There are also 3,000 of them. Some cultivators were counting the number of great Tao heavenly pillars that appeared one after another in the ancient city of chaos. When they saw them clearly, they could not help but gasp. The city of primal chaos truly lives up to its reputation of being mysterious. It actually has 3,000 heavenly pillars of the great Tao. Their great Tao is complete and flawless. The heavenly pillars are actually all solid and have reached the realm of great perfection. It was the pinnacle of the great Tao laws. This was a peak immortal rank God city. It's even more tyrannical than the demon court. It's even more unbelievable. Even if Mei Xian possessed a shocking disposition, she still couldn't help but exclaim with shock when she witnessed all of this. Her eyes emanated indescribable divine radiance as she glanced at the ancient city of chaos that was distributed throughout the city in a strange manner and supported the heavens and the earth. This was a peak immortal grade supreme artifact. It was even more powerful than the demon court. Rumble! As the two ancient cities rapidly approached each other, the surrounding Dead Sea of chaos immediately began to churn with surging waves. Like a tsunami, they constantly surged into the sky around the two ancient cities. Endless power of chaos swept towards the two ancient cities, as if the chaotic world instinctively did not want to see the two god artifacts successfully fuse. It wanted to destroy them. However, as soon as the primal chaos tide appeared 10,000 feet away from the two ancient cities, it was forcefully restrained and could not approach them at all. Finally, the two ancient cities truly collided. Bang! 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 Crack! The moment they collided, the primal chaos ancient city and the demon court collided violently like water and fire. The 3,000 great Tao in the primal chaos city and the 3,000 great Tao in the demon court were like enemies meeting. As soon as they collided, they immediately clashed violently. Billions of rays of light enveloped the two ancient cities. On the spot, terrifying cracks appeared on the pillars of the great Tao in the demon court. When the pillars that had yet to condense into a physical form collided with the pillars of the great perfection realm, they were severely injured on the spot. Cracks appeared on the pillars, and some of the pillars were faintly tilting. The heavens and the earth in the demon court shook violently as if the heavens and the earth were about to collapse. In the void there were faint stars that were falling. The heavens were collapsing. At this moment, all the cultivators in the demon court felt as if the heavens were about to collapse. They felt as powerless as ants, and a strong sense of fear surged wildly. Not good. The primal chaos city and the demon court are both independent worlds. The great Tao in the primal chaos city is self-contained. Now that they have merged, it's as if the two worlds are colliding. The two worlds are devouring and conquering each other. It's possible that they will be destroyed directly. Mei Xian's expression changed drastically, and she could not help but exclaim, "Lunatic D, stop quickly. I'm afraid that before the fusion succeeds, The two ancient cities will be completely destroyed during the fusion process. Ming was so scared that his face turned blood red. Before the fusion, he only thought that the two divine artifacts were controlled by Di Shirtian and recognized him as their master. He did not expect that the laws of the two worlds would be incompatible with each other, resulting in such a terrifying and destructive scene. Blit. What they thought of, Sakura naturally understood on the spot when the unforeseen event occurred. Without even thinking, his mind moved and he was about to divide the two ancient cities again. Boom, boom, boom. But at this moment the two ancient cities were like two extremes. They attracted each other and crushed each other. They were entangled with each other as if they were going to fight to the death to determine a winner. For a moment, Sakura's will was actually unable to split them apart. The great Tao collided and crushed violently. In the demon court, fine cracks appeared on the pillars at a speed visible to the naked eye. A thick aura of death enveloped the entire demon court. Despair and fear flashed in the eyes of countless demons. No matter how ferocious the savage beasts are, we demons will not yield. Our ancestors opened up the world with their blood. No matter how tyrannical the 100 races are, we demons will not be discouraged. We will roam the world with our undying fighting spirit. No matter how rampant the fiend gods are, we demons will not be afraid. We will build an unbreakable barrier with our flesh and blood. No matter how the human race turns against us, we demons will not be destroyed. Our proud demonic souls have existed since ancient times, and our inheritance will never be destroyed. No matter how our race declines, we demons will not be defeated. We will break fate and rise proudly. No matter how we die, our demonic souls will not be destroyed. Our blood will not be extinguished. Our will not be defeated. The demons will not be destroyed. We demons will not be destroyed. The prayers that had existed since ancient times and crossed the boundaries of time and space, with the undying demonic souls and unyielding will of the demons that had been passed down since ancient times, wrote the short but glorious history of the demons. Streams of blazing faith turned into an incredible power that shot up into the sky from the bodies of every demon. They gathered together and formed a white light that filled the sky. In the light, it was as if the endless martyrs of the demon race had really heard the call and had traveled across time and space from ancient times. Illusory fighting souls appeared one after another. This was the power of faith, this was the power of faith, faith in their own race, faith. The boundless power of faith filled every inch of space in the demon court, forcibly stabilizing the collapsing space with an unbelievable method. The broken pillars of heaven gathered together and recovered. They resisted the terrible impact from the ancient chaotic city. It can't be divided. Di Shirtian took a deep breath. His calm face did not reveal any trace of panic. At this moment, he was the stabilizing force in the hearts of all the demons. No matter what, he could not retreat or be afraid. As long as he did not fall, the faith in the hearts of all the demons would not be extinguished. So what if it can't be divided? Since you have recognized me as your master, you must obey my orders. If you don't, what use do I have for you? The demon court is my foundation. Ancient chaotic city, suppress it. Di Shirtian stood in the dead sea of chaos. Outside his body, monstrous tides of chaos rose into the sky and rolled up a tsunami hundreds of millions of feet high. However, this monstrous tsunami did not wait for it to come close. It was immediately cut into pieces by the wildly dancing black hair behind his head. A single strand of hair could collapse the chaotic chi. Outside the Black Emperor's robe, 9 dragons, 9 tigers, 9 vermilion birds, 9 black tortoises, and 9 Chilins all flew around, setting off the endless Emperor's aura and exuding a supreme Emperor's aura. Ancient tablets of the divine tomb suppressed the chaos. The Emperor blood in Di Shirtian's body boiled. The purple-gold Emperor blood with a blazing aura rushed into the tombstones in his body and quickly washed over them. Rumble! Under the cleansing of the Emperor blood, the 4 tombstones in his body immediately awakened. The battle tablet, law tablet, strength tablet, and soldier tablet all shook. Among them, the law tablet and soldier tablet flew out of the Emperor's body at the same time. They suddenly became abnormally vast and appeared above the ancient, chaotic city. All of a sudden, they emitted an ancient and boundless aura with the power to overturn the sky and suppress it in one fell swoop. The 2 tombstones were extremely strange. Each of them had the power to suppress the ancient times. As soon as they landed in the ancient city that was constantly colliding with the demon court was imprisoned and kept separating. However, the ancient city still burst out with an astonishing power of heaven and earth, resisting the suppression of the tombstones. It shook violently. Rumble! Tion snorted coldly. The battle tablet and the strength tablet in his body flew out. The 4 tombstones suppressed the 4 directions and landed in the ancient city in one fell swoop. When the tombstones landed in a direction, the power of heaven and earth in that area seemed to be fixed and imprisoned. It was difficult to move. It was completely suppressed. Shrink! Tion shouted at the ancient city. The primal chaos city immediately shrank like an aggrieved puppy. In the blink of an eye, it became only the size of 100,000 feet. Demon Court, devour the chaos, the jade archive of the Emperor, absorb the power of the great Tao, and strengthen the soaring sky. The Demon Court rose into the air, and a black hole appeared, directly sucking in the ancient chaotic city that was suppressed by the 4 tombstones into the core space. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidien.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1241. I'm running out of monthly tickets. Brothers with tickets, please support me. Perfected Lord Ku Rong's voice carried a hint of complacency and arrogance as he looked at the void and sneered. He had absolute confidence in his ability to escape. With the undying heavenly coffin, anyone who wanted to trace his tracks would only be a fool's dream. It had always been a doppelganger that walked outside, and there was no trace of his primordial spirit left inside. Even if he self-destructed, it would not cause any damage to him. It was unlike the time in ancient times when he wanted to seize a chance when the great calamity arrived and sent half of his primordial spirit into his doppelganger, which was why he was severely injured by the monkey. He had to recuperate for countless years. Without a primordial spirit, he could self-destruct at any time. Once he self-destructed, not only would it cause fatal damage to the enemy, but it would also erase all traces and cut off all karma. No one would be able to deduce the location of his main body from the doppelganger. Even the Sovereign Lord would have a hard time finding his location. That was why he was so confident and why he was so confident. Humph! Monster Emperor, oh Monster Emperor, I've seen through your scheme this time, but I'm still better than you. Although I've lost a doppelganger, I've seen through your scheme. Now that I've destroyed my doppelganger and cut off all clues, I'll see how you'll track me down. I've lost a doppelganger in exchange for winning the bet. Come to think of it, I've already profited. As long as I don't go out, I'll see how you can win against me. Perfected Lord Ku Rong's lips curled into a smug smile. In terms of life-saving ability, if he claimed to be second in the world, no one would dare to claim to be first. He was sure that he had erased everything and would not leave any trace. As long as he stayed on this island until the end of the bet, he would naturally win. In his opinion, the treasures that the monster emperor had taken away were already waving at him and returning to his embrace. Is that so? Ku Rong, do you really think you've won against me? I'd like to see you bite your own leg and swallow it. Just as Ku Rong could not help but want to laugh out loud to vent his pride, a voice that he did not expect to hear suddenly appeared in the sky above the isolated island without any warning. It was clear and steady as it echoed in his ears. It was like a sharp knife that directly pierced into his heart. The originally excited expression on his face suddenly became abnormally stiff. It was as if time had stopped at this moment. It seemed that he had already fallen. His entire body became extremely stiff. However, in the blink of an eye, his entire body jumped out of the undying heavenly coffin. He looked up at the void and saw a majestic figure standing there. A few words seemed to be squeezed out from the gaps of his teeth. Demon Emperor! Ku Rong! The one in the void was none other than Di Shirtian's clone. He stood in the void with his black hair fluttering in the wind. He stared at perfected Lord Ku Rong in a dignified manner and said, "Are you surprised to see me?" There was a strange charm in his voice. "How is that possible? I've clearly erased all traces and cut off everything. It's impossible for you to track me down. I don't believe it. I don't believe you can find me." Green veins popped out on perfected Lord Ku Rong's arms. His expression was ferocious and filled with disbelief as he roared furiously. Disbelief was written all over his face. However, no matter how much he did not want to believe it, he could clearly feel that the person in front of him was indeed the Demon Emperor from his aura. It was indeed Di Shirtian. "Let me understand why I've lost." Ku Rong's eyes were bloodshot as he stared at Di Shirtian with bloodshot eyes. His voice became unusually hoarse. He questioned persistently. He could not understand how the Demon Emperor found him. He would not die in peace if he did not know the reason. A wisp of a faintly discernible smile appeared in Sakra's eyes when he heard this. He looked meaningfully at Ku Rong and said, "Ku Rong, do you still remember the scene when we met for the first time?" He did not seem to be worried that Ku Rong would find out about his tracking technique. "The first time we met?" A strange look appeared in perfected Lord Ku Rong's eyes. When they met for the first time, they were not on friendly terms. Instead, he wanted to plunder Chun Shi's divine origin. In the end, they fought fiercely. Later on, he was even harmed by the heavenly tribulation that Di Shirtian attracted. However, he also gave him 100 Desires demonic pearl. When he thought of the 100 Desires demonic pearl, a flash of inspiration suddenly appeared in his mind. He said in surprise, "Desire. Back then, when you were transcending the tribulation, you were creating the 7 emotions and 6 desires demonic vein. Desire, desire. Could it be that you tracked me through desire?" For him to be able to live until now, how could he be a fool? Just by mentioning a single primer, he immediately thought of many things. He had already erased some of the traces he had left behind so that even a ruler wouldn't be able to track him down. Yet, Sakra had managed to find him here. Clearly, the method he had used wasn't an ordinary one, but an extraordinary one. Desire. He thought of desire. He knew the Shifter Emperor very well and had specially studied him. He was no stranger to the Shifter Emperor's cultivation method, the Emperor's Path. It was a supreme cultivation method of the path of desire. He knew the dangers of the power of desire very well. He could also imagine how terrifying the Shifter Emperor, who could cultivate the power of desire until now and had not succumbed to it, was. "You're not stupid." When Di Shirtian saw that Ku Rong had reacted, he smiled faintly and said, "I cultivate the power of desire and control desires. The 7 emotions and 6 desires are all under my control. As long as I want, no emotional fluctuation can escape from my senses. Unless it's an existence that has abandoned lust, as long as a trace of desire is revealed, it's impossible to escape from my tracking." Pausing for a moment, he glanced at him with a faint smile and continued, "With your suspicious heart, this Emperor has already begun to set up a trap since the beginning of the bet with you. If I were to look for you with great fanfare, you would instead hide in your shell and wait until the end of the bet. But if I don't do anything, with your suspicious heart, you will inevitably let your imagination run wild and your suspicions run wild. Eventually, you will reveal your traces. The moment I saw you in the Southern Barbarian, the outcome was already decided. Anger, jealousy, fear, shock, and all kinds of emotions have already exposed your track. You can erase all visible traces, but you can't erase the invisible desires. Desires are connected, so it's easy to find you. Sentence by sentence, he clearly exposed all the plans. The plans had been in place since the beginning of the bet and were unfolding. He had almost calculated Ku Rong to the core. It sounded simple, but if he did not expose it, how could the hidden scheme be simple? The power of desire. All living things in the world, as long as they had spiritual intelligence, could not abandon the 7 emotions and 6 desires. Having no desires or desires was just a relative level. The desires of all living things gathered together invisibly. In fact, the desires that were emitted were still connected to the original body. Could not be cut off, and it was messy. Using the 7 emotions and 6 desires to track someone seemed simple, but apart from Di Shirtian, no other powerhouse in the world could spy on it. Back then, the purpose of luring Ku Rong's clone was not to kill him, but to obtain the information of his own desires. The body could be different, but the desires would not lie. I see. The moment Ku Rong understood, the expression on his face became very complicated. One moment it was white and the next moment it was green. It was as if he had opened a dyeing shop. The drastic changes seemed to be an intense psychological struggle. After a long while, he gritted his teeth and said, "Demon Emperor, I've lost. You've found the hiding place of my real body. I know that with my current cultivation, I'm definitely no match for you. You can kill me or torture me as you wish. It's still the same as before. If I lose, I'll return all the treasures I took from you back then. If you lose, you'll join the demon court as a subject. Since you've admitted defeat, I wonder if your promise still counts." Di Shirtian asked in a deep voice. This was obviously forcing him to abdicate. Ku Rong's expression changed, and thoughts quickly ran through his mind. He thought to himself, "Today, my real body has been completely exposed. My immortal body is probably no longer a threat to the Demon Emperor. With my cultivation that has not completely recovered, I can't fight this beast at all. My life is in his hands. If I don't agree, he'll definitely trample me to death. Thinking about how I haven't recovered from my injuries after so many years, it's also one of the reasons. The Demon Emperor's journey can be said to be an unprecedented miracle in the world. If I join the demon court, it might be a bright path. Maybe I can use this to recover my cultivation. I'll gain endless benefits from the Great Tribulation." Thoughts flashed through his mind, but on the surface, he only pondered for a moment and nodded slowly. "I'm willing to accept defeat. I'm willing to submit to your majesty and join the demon court as a subject. Ku Rong pays his respects to your majesty." Once he made his choice, he decisively knelt on one knee and bowed to Di Shirtian respectfully. "Good. Since you've joined the demon court, you're not an outsider. If I'm not wrong, your origin should be related to the legendary Eternal Heaven Realm." When Di Shirtian heard his submission, he could not help but nod to himself. "Your Majesty is wise. I'm indeed from the Eternal Heaven Realm." When True Lord Ku Rong heard this, he took a deep breath and confirmed with a peculiar charm. "Since you're from the Eternal Heaven Realm, how did you end up in this chaotic world?" A look of understanding flashed across Di Shirtian's mind. Since his initial guess had been confirmed, he did not hesitate to ask for information about the Eternal Heaven Realm. "Reporting to your Majesty, this subject was heavily injured and forced to enter this world." Ku Rong seemed to have a lot of anger in his heart about what happened back then. As soon as he heard the question, he started to complain about his hardship. Slowly, he revealed some things as well. It turned out that Ku Rong was quite famous in the Eternal Heaven Realm. He had the title of the Immortal Heavenly Lord. At his peak, his cultivation level had reached the half-step sovereign level. He was only half a step away from the sovereign level. However, he had an instinct that it was difficult to kill him. Even if he was beaten to a pulp, he could still recover. Even the sovereigns could not completely destroy him. Because of this, his life in the eternal celestial realm was quite comfortable. However, he was embroiled in a strange war. It seemed that because of some inconceivable and mysterious supreme treasure, many supreme beings took action to fight for it. In the end, it turned into a terrifying, chaotic battle. To be continued. If you like this work, you're welcome to vote for me at Chidien. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 1242. If you have a monthly ticket, please give me 2 monthly tickets to support the demons. Ku Rong's expression changed when he recalled the chaotic battle. His eyes revealed a look of fear, as though he was shocked by the scene back then. He still hadn't gotten rid of the shadow from back then. Moreover, the range of the chaotic battle was simply too vast. Even he had been swept into it. Although he had unimaginable life-saving methods, even sovereigns had fallen in such a battle. A half-step sovereign like him, even with his undying divine ability, had been severely injured. Even his body had been affected. In the end, although he had managed to keep his life, he had been forcefully thrown into this chaotic world. Even after a long time, his injuries still hadn't healed. Otherwise, he wouldn't be the eternal overlord that he was now. He would have long been a peerless expert, or even a half-step sovereign. There was indeed a great battle in the eternal heaven domain. What was the outcome of the battle? Deshirtian's eyes flashed. He seemed to have grasped something from Ku Rong's words. Back then, my cultivation base was way too weak. Compared to the other experts, I was just a slightly bigger ant. I don't even know who it was that sent me flying out of the eternal heaven world. How would I know what the final outcome of the battle was? Furthermore, I was severely injured back then and had to leave the battlefield. The chaotic battle had just reached its climax. Ku Rong was a typical example of someone who didn't know the outcome until the beginning. Actually, Deshirtian had already expected this, but he was just asking with a just-in-case attitude. He wasn't too disappointed. He continued to ask, then, do you know what kind of supreme treasure was fought over by countless powerful magics in the ancient heaven world? How could a key item that could trigger such a terrifying war be a simple existence? Even though he had strong self-control, he still couldn't help but ask. However, he guessed that Ku Rong might not have been able to come into contact with such a level of existence with his strength back then. As expected, an awkward look appeared on Ku Rong's face. He shook his head and said, "Your Majesty, I only heard that it was a supreme treasure that was nurtured in the primordial world. Legend has it that even the eternal supreme god would have unimaginable benefits if he obtained it. It was an incredible supreme treasure." This news made the eternal heaven domain go crazy. Blood flowed like a river. But as for what kind of treasure it was in the end, I still haven't figured it out. This matter was also an eternal pain in his heart. After carefully questioning Ku Rong, Deshirtian stood in the void with a contemplative look on his face. He thought to himself, now it seems that although Ku Rong was born in the ancient heaven realm, he also knows little about the ancient heaven realm. There were many things that he could not rely on him to understand. But now, what was certain was that a terrifying change had indeed occurred in the ancient heaven world. A world-shaking war had broken out, and the source of that war was that mysterious supreme treasure that had suddenly appeared. But what the treasure is, and what the outcome of the battle was, is still a mystery to me. If Carefree Scholar was willing to tell them, these mysteries could be easily solved. However, since Carefree Scholar didn't say it, Deshirtian didn't dare to ask him. Apparently, there was a huge secret hidden within. It was because of all these that he couldn't uncover the truth of the ancient heaven realm. It was as if there was a layer of fog that couldn't be removed in his mind. Your original body is this undying heavenly coffin. Sakura took a deep breath and raised his eyes to look at the pitch-black heavenly coffin on the sacrificial altar. He could feel the same aura as Ku Rong from the heavenly coffin. The heavenly coffin gave off a kind of profound charm, but faintly revealed the charm of having its origin damaged. The heavenly coffin was constantly absorbing the rich death aura on the island as if it had a life of its own. Yes. True Lord Ku Rong nodded without hiding anything. This point couldn't be hidden anymore, and there was no need to hide it in front of Di Shirtian. He answered straightforwardly. There are cracks on the coffin, and it's almost broken. It seems that you've really suffered a huge injury. Di Shirtian's eyes were so sharp that he could see that under the cover of the black death aura, there were countless fine cracks on every inch of the coffin. It was like a broken ceramic, and it was extremely shocking. It seemed like it could shatter at any time. What you need is not only the power of death. If I'm not wrong, you'll need the purest power of life if you want to fully recover from your injuries. You need a huge amount of life to make up for your injuries. Life and death, yin and yang. You should go to the life-forbidden zone where the divine tree of life is. Di Shirtian said. Your Majesty is wise. There are enough source of life in the life-forbidden zone, and it'll be of great help to my recovery. However, with my cultivation, I can't go deep into the forbidden zone. That's why I haven't fully recovered, True Lord Ku Rong said bitterly. The injuries he had suffered were so terrifying that he couldn't even enter the forbidden zone. It's fine. You can stay on the purple gold mainland for now. When I return and fight the demon god continent, I'll help you recover. Even the divine tree of life has to enter the demon court. It belongs to the demon race. Sakra slowly spat out a sentence with an incomparably confident tone. His Majesty is really in the chaos right now. Ku Rong thought quickly and finally confirmed that Di Shirtian was indeed in the chaos. Ku Rong, when you recover, you'll have a seat in the demon court. Sakra left behind a sentence, and his entire body disappeared from the island without a trace, as if he had never appeared before. Clang! Clang! At this moment, in the Linglong Pagoda in the demon court, at the highest level, ancient bell chimes filled with the will of reincarnation rang out continuously. In the void, the crystal-like celestial samsara bell was suspended above a ball of purple-gold imperial flames, bobbing up and down continuously. Innate spiritual items and divine items melted in the imperial flame and merged into the ancient bell. Mysterious Tao runes appeared continuously, densely distributed on the entire bell, outlining mysterious runes. It was as if each of the runes had a life of its own. They were constantly squirming, forming a mysterious array formation. Scrolls of paintings flickered on the ancient bell. There were giants running wildly, demons dancing wildly, fire crows streaking across the sky, and gourd vines piercing through the sun and moon. In particular, the gourd painting had 5 exquisite gourds hanging from the 7-colored vine. One was blood red, one was emerald, one was black, one was purple gold, and one was turquoise. They were all different and exuded different charms. They were the Demon Slayer gourd, the Wine God gourd, and the Calamity gourd. The purple gold one was the purple gold gourd and had the miraculous effect of nourishing pills. The turquoise one was the myriad poisons gourd. It contained endless poisonous gas in the world and could absorb any kind of poison. The more types of poisons it absorbed, the more terrifying the power of the gourd would be. These two were connate gourds that had grown on their own in the past. Under Di Shirtian's generous nurturing of connate spiritual items and divine items, they'd both grown up. They possessed extraordinary strength. As the various divine objects continued to fuse with it, the divine light emitted from the ancient bell became more and more complete. The countless spaces within the bell continued to expand at an astonishing speed, becoming more stable. Lands, seas, flowers, and trees were born. Reincarnation! Reincarnation! Amidst the sound of the bell, 2 ancient notes could be faintly heard. Ancient discs of samsara appeared out of nowhere on the surface of the ancient bell. They constantly revolved around the ancient bell. Every projection of the discs of samsara was interwoven with the sun, moon, stars, mountains, rivers, birds, beasts, and all the living beings in the world. There were a total of 5 of such plates of reincarnation outside the ancient bell. Rumble! The glow from the bell constantly strengthened at every moment. It became denser and denser. With a series of rapid chimes, all the light gathered together, and the 6th plate of samsara condensed out of nowhere. The moment it condensed, the light from the bell immediately dimmed. However, as more and more divine items were refined, the dimmed divine light grew stronger. In the blink of an eye, another 100 years passed in the Linglong Treasure Pagoda. No one knew how many divine items had been fused into it, but 8 plates of reincarnation had appeared outside the bell of reincarnation. Clang! The ancient bell vibrated, and the surrounding void shattered at a speed visible to the naked eye, shattering into dust amidst the bell chimes. The scene of great destruction appeared all around. A vast pressure caused the void around the ancient bell to distort. Good! 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 After spending so much wealth, the bell of reincarnation has finally been upgraded to a top-tier innate peerless treasure. When I meet Paragon of Judgment again, I'll show him the power of this ancient bell. Dark squinted his eyes and squealed. Humph! I'll give him a bell. Deshirtion sneered. The Celestial Emperor's Chariot! Deshirtion shouted. Rumble! A huge fissure appeared in the void. Inside the fissure, 9 ferocious dragons, each at least 100,000 zhang long, crossed the void with ferocious gazes. They pulled a huge chariot full of emperor's might as they flew through the void. The primordial 9 dragons really rose to the unparalleled grade after devouring great emperor shrouding heaven's peerless demonic dragons. Dark couldn't help but cry out in surprise when he saw this. The dragon scales on the 9 dragons seemed to have become even finer, and each dragon scale had a unique Tao pattern that shone with a dazzling divine light. Each Tao pattern was like a tiny dragon roaming about. His gaze, which was originally somewhat fierce, was now filled with the light of wisdom. Spiritual intelligence. Instead of 9 dragon claws, they had 18 dragon claws. Each dragon claw was so powerful that it seemed like it could tear the chaos apart. The majestic dragon aura shook the surroundings. Roar, roar, roar! The domineering dragon roar seemed to be competing with the bell of reincarnation. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Qidien.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1243. Boom! Boom! The domineering dragon roar almost shattered the surrounding void on the spot, showing signs of great destruction. The vast pressure brought with it the aura of the immemorial age. Each of them was the ancestor of the hundreds of millions of dragon clan in the world. Any drop of blood in their body could create a new species of dragon clan. Any dragon would feel an oppressive force emanating from their bloodline from the dragon's might that they exuded. If the 3 princesses of the dragon clan, Ao Qing, Ao Hong, and Ao Shui were in front of them, they would immediately kneel on the ground due to the pressure from the bloodline. The majestic dragon aura naturally spread out in all directions. The primordial 9 dragons greet your majesty. The primordial 9 dragons pulled the huge celestial emperor's chariot and appeared in front of Deshirtion. They did not display the majesty of the peerless realm, but bowed their heads respectfully. Very good. It seems that you have gained sentience after devouring the demonic dragons and using the power of the celestial emperor's chariot. Since you still acknowledge me, I will not treat you unfairly. If there is nothing going on, you are free to do as you please. If there is a war, you must return to your positions. There is a seat for you in the Purple Heaven Pavilion, and you will receive a monthly salary. You will enjoy the benefits of being a member of the Purple Heaven Pavilion. Are you satisfied? Seeing that the primordial 9 dragons had gained sentience, Deshirtion did not treat them lowly. Instead, he gave them the same treatment and status. Whatever the peerless realm experts could enjoy, they could also enjoy. "Thank you, Your Majesty," the primordial 9 dragons said in unison. Although they did not make many vows, the determination in their eyes represented their determination. Clang! Clang! Sakra nodded and casually pointed at the 9 iron chains that were wrapped around the 9 dragons. On the iron chains, the sound of the iron chains breaking was immediately heard. In the blink of an eye, the 9 dragons and the chariot were separated in an instant. He then said, "You guys find a place to meditate first. This emperor wants to reforge the chariot." Yes. The primordial 9 dragons did not say anything unnecessary. They found a place to absorb the yuan qi of heaven and earth on their own to stabilize their cultivation. It was a rare opportunity for them to break through. They had an extraordinary obsession with becoming stronger. Di Shirtian stared at the war chariot in front of him, which exuded a strong emperor's might, as if it was the celestial emperor's aura. His eyes kept darting back and forth between the chariot's body, the imperial canopy, the silvery white devil-punishing war spear, and the violet-gold judgment war spear. Even the celestial emperor's furnace, which was one with the war chariot, had images of the sun, the moon, the stars, all things in the heavens, and infinite living beings. Madman D, this celestial emperor's chariot can't keep up with your speed of improvement. It doesn't match your status. This time we'll reforge it. We must make it the one and only emperor's chariot in the chaos world. No one can compare to it," Ming said with a strange smile. The celestial emperor's chariot was a top-grade Khanate spirit treasure jointly forged by the various races of the purple gold continent. In the past, wherever the war chariot went, even mighty figures would have to retreat. But now, his enemy was at the level of a sovereign. A top-grade Khanate spirit treasure could be pierced through with a single blow. It looked impressive but was useless. It could no longer keep up with his progress. At this moment, while he was reforging his supreme treasures, he naturally could not neglect the war chariot. Back then, with the various races' ability, it was already the best they could do to forge a top-grade Khanate spirit treasure. But now, it's not difficult for me to reforge the war chariot. Di Shirtian already had an idea about reforging the war chariot. What was a war chariot? It was his carriage. It was like an emperor going out of the palace. If he rode an ox carriage, his face would probably be thrown into a ravine. This was about face. It represented his own face, and the face of the forces behind him. If the celestial emperor's chariot was casually pierced through, his momentum would be at a disadvantage. It would be a loss of face for no reason. It was imperative to reforge the war chariot. Imperial Jade Seal, shatter it and merge it into the war chariot. With a flash of light in Di Shirtian's hand, the Imperial Jade Seal exuding rich golden emperor chi appeared out of thin air. On the Imperial Jade Seal, there were scenes of countless living beings worshipping and praying. Countless ferocious beasts were roaring as they surrounded the Imperial Jade Seal. Under the Imperial Jade Seal, there were golden lines outlining limitless longevity, 4 ancient divine runes. This was the Imperial Jade Seal used by Emperor Limitless when he was in charge of the Wan Shou Imperial Dynasty. It contained boundless Emperor's fate and the Emperor's chi that had been accumulated for countless years. Bang! The Imperial Jade Seal shattered in an instant, turning into fine powder and merging into the war chariot. Rumble! At this moment, the Celestial Emperor's furnace in the Celestial Emperor's chariot was activated, refining all the power in the Imperial Jade Seal and sending it into the war chariot. Light! Purple gold divine light burst out of the chariot out of nowhere. The sun, moon, and stars on the chariot seemed to have come to life, flickering with resplendent divine light. They were vivid and lifelike, as if they were truly at the center of the universe. Supreme, supreme. There seemed to be countless dragon roars erupting from the war chariot. The Imperial Jade Seal was only the first item. Immediately, the Emperor's robe stripped from Emperor Limitless was refined into the war chariot, fusing it into the Celestial Emperor's imperial canopy to strengthen its defense. There was also the Chaos Membrane found in the City of Chaos. Divine stones of heaven, earth, and man emperor bones, and so on. Many innate divine items were not stingy and were fused into the war chariot. Emperor's celestial pillar, temper the war chariot. Di Shirtion waved his hand again, and a golden celestial pillar of the great Tao appeared. It burst with a rich emperor's chi, the unique and righteous, and used the celestial emperor's celestial pillar to temper the celestial emperor's war chariot. Another 100 years passed in the blink of an eye. Of course, this was in the Linglong Treasure Pagoda. Outside, the demon court was still heading straight for the agreed battlefield, the Death Domain. They approached quickly, traversing tens of thousands of miles in an instant. Meanwhile, in a strange region in primal chaos, it was a blood-colored land mass, filled with towering mountain peaks and soil that seemed capable of oozing blood. Scars of battle could be seen on the mountain peaks, such as saber scars, axe scars, palm prints, and other such things. The energy fluctuations in those scars were enough to seriously injure a consummate expert, or even reduce them to dust. Not even someone with an undying body would be able to do anything to them. Wreckage was everywhere, and chaotic tempests were everywhere. All sorts of chaotic attacks could be unleashed, and even the most consummate experts would be reduced to dust. Broken sabers, swords, and magical treasures could be seen everywhere. Broken limbs were strewn all over the blood-colored land mass. It was almost as if the land mass were alive and emanated terrifying pressure. At a glance, it was impossible to tell how vast it was. An invisible barrier covered the entire land mass, blocking out the primal chaos energy. However, the vast primal chaos energy continued to pour in, forming chaotic tempests and countless energy vortexes on the surface of the barrier. Toxins, tempests, tides, death rays, flames, and so on constantly flashed across the land mass. This was not a normal land mass, but a land full of death. Even a consummate expert would not be willing to enter this area. Once they entered, they would not be able to control their own life and death. However, this was also the most famous forbidden area in the primal chaos, called the Death Domain. Here, there was a strange rule and characteristic, and that was that the space here, even the sky, earth, and mountains, all had an unimaginable stability. Even a consummate attack from a consummate expert would not be able to destroy anything inside, not even the mountains. Even a sovereign would not be able to destroy the land mass here. Shatter the land. Moreover, there was a unique characteristic, and that was, there was a rule in this land. Any cultivator who entered had to kill a cultivator who was also on the land mass if they wanted to leave. If there was no other cultivator, they would not be able to leave. If they forced their way in, the land mass would suppress them. Even a sovereign would not be able to avoid it. It was extremely strange. Rumor had it that this land mass appeared mysteriously. No one knew its origin. In short, it was not an existence born in the primal chaos. However, due to its unique characteristic, it was eventually called the Death Domain, the most ideal place for duels in the primal chaos. 2 cultivators would enter, and only one would come out alive. Once inside, it was either you or I who died. The rule was filled with a tragic aura. It was either life or death, and no one was an exception. It was also the reason why this place was filled with the smell of blood. Unless one was a mortal enemy, no one would enter this place. However, it also made this place a unique area. Currently, outside the Death Domain, there were many mighty figures that one would not be able to see even if they wanted to. Numerous massive divine artifacts were scattered outside. There were huge islands, ferocious-looking warships, huge altars, and so on. Each of the god artifacts was guarded by experts. Among them, there were large groups of primordial deities and unparalleled demon emperors from the demon god continent. Even the unparalleled mighty figures from the purple gold continent were gathered in various places. None of the cultivators were below the peerless realm. This place was like a gathering of mighty figures. Of course, some were cultivating with their eyes closed, while others were chatting in groups of 2 or 3. There's less than a year left until the deadline that Paragon of Judgment and the Shifter Emperor agreed on. I wonder if the Shifter Emperor will come. After all, this is a battle with a paragon. No matter how strong the Shifter Emperor is, he's only a half-step sovereign. The outcome is worrying. Maybe the Shifter Emperor will miss the appointment. A primordial deity laughed strangely. That's not necessarily true. Paragon of Judgment and the Shifter Emperor agreed on the rule back then. If anyone doesn't abide by it, the punishment won't come from the world's laws, but the real Great Tao's laws. Even Paragon of Judgment can't withstand it, let alone the Shifter Emperor. This battle of life and death will not be missed. Another deity said loudly. To be continued. If you like this work, you're welcome to vote for it at Chidian. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 1244. News of the battle between Di Shirtian and Paragon of Judgment in the heaven-reaching tower had spread far and wide, especially the battle declaration. It was made in front of the Great Tao Precept. The Great Tao Precepts were existences above the laws. The laws were the laws. Even the sovereigns couldn't violate the laws. Once violated, there was a possibility of death. The battle declaration of life and death was made in front of the Great Tao Precepts. It was an agreement that had to be fulfilled. The exposure and spread of this agreement immediately made the life and death desolation domain the focus of countless eyes in the primal chaos. An intense battle between a paragon and a non-paragon was an unimaginable story in the primal chaos. Moreover, both of them were famous almighties. One was an immemorial paragon, and the other was the Shifter Emperor. A large number of almighties were attracted to this place. They gathered here to watch the battle that would shock the primal chaos. This was especially so when they learned from a primordial godfiend that practiced divination that the Paragon of Judgment had a 60% chance of winning, while the Shifter Emperor had a 40% chance of winning. This attracted the attention of countless mighty figures. This probability wasn't overwhelming, but rather a situation where both sides were evenly matched. It attracted the curiosity of countless people. This was a grand event. Those who were qualified to attend were all unparalleled existences. Those who weren't unparalleled existences didn't even have the right to watch the battle. It could be said to be the greatest battle in the world. That's right. No matter what, Paragon of Judgment and the Shifter Emperor can't break their promise. This battle will definitely take place. I've already investigated the Shifter Emperor's past. Although it hasn't been long since his debut, he has been able to create shocking miracles time and time again. He defeated the strong with the weak, and fought against the strong with the small. This time, he might be able to contend against Paragon of Judgment. It will definitely be an exciting battle. A divine demon said excitedly. He was quite curious about the battle that was about to begin. Paragons of immemorial paragons rarely take action. This time, we can watch the battle with our own eyes. It will definitely be an unimaginable experience for our cultivation. Who knows, we might be able to comprehend profound truths from the battle and break through our bottlenecks and advance further. It was obvious that all the experts wanted to gain some insights from such a shocking battle to improve their cultivation. In this world, one's cultivation was often the most important thing. A mere demon sovereign dares to fight against a paragon? You're simply courting death. Don't get smashed into smithereens by Paragon the moment you step onto the stage. That would be truly embarrassing. At this moment, a disdainful voice echoed in the chaos. Crash! As the sound of his voice faded, all the major characters in the surroundings turned their gazes to the source of the voice only to see that the one who spoke was actually a group of devil gods standing on a gigantic devil foundation. Their bodies were all exuding cold devil chi. "It's an expert from the Fiend Celestial continent," said a primordial Fiend Celestial after recognizing him. "The Demon God continent and the Purple Gold continent have always been mortal enemies. They must be hoping that the Demon Emperor will fall in this battlefield. This way, when they invade the Purple Gold continent, they will have one less terrifying enemy." Almost instantly, most of the mighty figures knew what the demon gods were thinking. Tisk tsk. You people from the Demon God continent only know how to talk behind people's back. If you have the guts, you can tell the Shifter Emperor in front of him. Don't dare? You're just a bunch of gutless rats. At this moment, on the other side, a group of mighty figures with different auras stood on a gigantic battleship. The one at the front had a pair of pitch-black dragon horns on his forehead. His two eyes were abnormally strange, as if he possessed terrifying power. He sneered. That's right. If they dared to speak to the Shifter Emperor like that back then, they wouldn't be standing here right now. They would have entered the battlefield to fight the Shifter Emperor to the death. A beautiful woman in a colorful dress had an arrogant expression on her face as she sneered disdainfully. Torch Dragon, old Mother Phoenix, in my opinion, why don't we enter the battlefield with these demon gods to warm up? We can liven things up for the Shifter Emperor when he kills a paragon, said an old man suddenly with a faint smile. Humph. Star-Lord, don't think that the Demon God continent is afraid of you. If you want to fight, the Demon God continent is always ready to entertain you. The Bloody Blade Demon revealed a sinister smile as he swept a cold glance at the mighty figures from the Purple Gold continent. His words showed no signs of weakness. As the two sides exchanged a few words, there were already signs of intense sparks flying. The surrounding aura in the chaos suddenly became abnormally oppressive. Rumble! At this moment there was a violent tremor in the chaos. A pitch-black belt of light stretched out from the depths of the chaos out of thin air, all the way to the life and death domain. On the black belt of light, one could clearly see countless fiend celestials fighting and slaughtering each other. Countless demonic beasts were fighting each other. It was filled with boundless hostility. It soared into the sky, isolating the boundless chaos. Demon! 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 Within the belt of light, there seemed to be terrifying roars that were constantly shouting, presenting scenes of the history of the demon god civilization. A pressure that even the chaos was intimidated rapidly covered the vast area along the belt of light. All the mighty figures in the vicinity could only feel a terrifying pressure on their shoulders. It was as if they were about to kneel down on the spot. They were about to welcome the supreme existence in the distance. It's the demon Ancestor. Zhu Long suddenly closed his eyes and spat out a solemn voice. All the powerhouses on the warship had an unusually solemn expression on their faces as they stared at the end of the belt of light. They circulated their cultivation techniques to resist the powerful pressure from the outside world. Rumble! Realizing that a top-notch existence was about to descend, the many mighty figures who had been discussing animatedly and drawing swords at each other's throats all stopped talking and looked forward. At the end of the black belt of light, 9 huge demon palaces emerged out of thin air and appeared in front of the crowd in the blink of an eye along the belt of light. The majestic pressure caused the surrounding chaos to roll violently on the spot. The auras emanating from the 9 demonic palaces were all different, but they were all unabashedly above the rest of the world, making even the most powerful beings feel like they were extremely small and insignificant. At the same time, an invisible pressure appeared on the ancestral dragon warship out of thin air. The majestic pressure caused the entire warship to fall violently. The surrounding chaos shattered and the warship roared violently, showing signs of breaking at any time. Torch Dragon and the other mighty figures on the warship felt like ants that were about to be crushed into pieces. Humph! Heart-devouring demon lord, don't you care about your reputation? How dare you attack a group of juniors? How shameless! Roar! At this moment, 9 dragon roars came from the chaos. Nine dragons that were hundreds of thousands of feet long pulled a black war chariot across the void. On the war chariot, a black-robed demon lord was seen with his hands behind his back. His face was cold and callous, and his black demonic hair danced wantonly. A kind of arrogance and domineering demonic aura that belonged to the demon lord was on full display. With a wave of his hand, the pressure that had fallen on Torch Dragon and the others dissipated instantly. That's right. If you're itching for a fight, this old man can also accompany you for a few rounds. Bullying a group of juniors is demeaning for no reason. The Space Dominator, who was dressed in a snow-white robe and holding the Book of Space, came across the void on a huge Kuan Pung. He looked at the 9 demon palaces with a faint smile. Humph! Demon Lord, Space, the main characters today are not the few of us. If you want to fight, you will naturally have a chance in the future. However, I'm afraid that a peerless genius of your purple gold continent will fall today. I, depraved Demon Lord, will raise my cup to watch the battle. The fallen Demon Lord smiled faintly and casually retorted. It's still too early to make a conclusion about who has fallen. Perhaps the one who will fall will be the other side. Rumble! A vast river swept across the void from afar. Countless living beings flashed within the river. Past, present, future, and so on. All kinds of unique auras flickered within the river. Stepping on the river, the Fate Dominator, who seemed to have experienced many vicissitudes of life, appeared. His voice seemed to contain the mysteries of fate. Fate may not be unchangeable. However, the Yao Emperor has yet to become a sovereign. Against the Paragon of Judgment, who has reached the late-stage sovereign level, it's like an egg striking a rock. Judgment's chances of victory are far greater than the Yao Emperor's. At this moment, Ancestor Lifeless, who had been silent all this time, suddenly spoke. Then let's wait and see. When the Fate Dominator heard this, he didn't refute it. At their level, things like quarrels rarely happened. Usually, it was enough for them to express their opinions. As for who was right and who was wrong, as long as they arrived at the end, they would naturally know the result. If they didn't get along, they could only fight. Rumble! At this moment, the primal chaos energy in the distance began to churn violently. It was constantly being pulverized. As the primal chaos shattered, numerous worlds were born, only to be destroyed in an instant. A supreme and domineering aura swept over. Boundless tides of primal chaos were swept up. In the blink of an eye, a huge figure appeared before the eyes of all the major powers. When they saw this, all the mighty figures were so frightened that they immediately jumped up. The Paragon Divine Domain. My goodness! The Paragon Divine Domain actually appeared here. What's going on? Rumor has it that ever since the Paragon Divine Domain was born, it has never moved. It has always been stationary. Could it be that the Paragon Divine Domain wants to use it to intimidate everyone? Some of the primordial godfiends sucked in a breath of cold air and let out strange cries. Their eyes were filled with shock and excitement. It really is the Paragon Divine Domain. It's an immortal-grade divine artifact, one of only 2 in the primal chaos. I didn't expect to see the most ancient of them here. It seems that the Paragon Divine Domain values the Yao Emperor quite a bit. He even placed the Yao Emperor on the level of a sovereign. One of the major powers took a deep breath and quickly analyzed the situation. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1245. Could the Yao Emperor truly be strong enough to contend against a primeval autarch? Could it be that the sovereign divine realm, which hadn't been mobilized for countless years, was willing to make such a big move? Could it be to guard against the Yao Emperor's demon court? All sorts of thoughts flashed through the minds of the crowd when they saw the sovereign divine realm's appearance. Almost immediately, They guessed that the immortal Grey Divine artifact was most likely here to keep the Yao Emperor's demon court in check. That way, the Yao Emperor would have no choice but to fulfill his promise and fight Paragon of Judgment alone. But at the same time, it also gave all the mighty figures a new understanding of this arranged battle. The 9 archfiend ancestors of the Fiend God continent, the 3 sovereigns of the Violet Gold continent, and the 9 primeval autarchs of the primeval gods and demons. Almost all the sovereigns of the primal chaos are here. Could it be that this battle isn't as simple as it seems? Perhaps there's some unknown secret at play. Almost all of the sovereign lords had arrived, and all of the cultivators present were keenly aware that something was amiss with the auras in the air. Rumble! The sovereign divine realm streaked through the air like a god descending from the heavens. Sinister-looking crossbows exuded chilling killing intent, and cold arrows were pointed in every direction. They were scattered across every inch of space, like a hedgehog covered in sharp spikes. Killing intent pierced through the sun and moon, shaking the starry sky. 9 imposing figures stood in the sky above the sovereign divine realm, exuding an aura of supremacy. Their gazes swept over the 9 archfiend ancestors and the 3 sovereigns. They didn't even look at the other peerless experts. Paragon of Judgment was dressed in a profound yellow robe. He carried an ancient profound yellow sword on his back and wore a flat imperial crown on his head. His expression was cold and dignified. He took a step forward and looked at the 3 sovereigns. Fate, Space, Fiend Master, he said coldly, the 10-year deadline has arrived. Where is the Yao Emperor? Could it be that he's hiding in some corner and doesn't dare to come out? His voice naturally revealed a kind of innate strong confidence and contempt. He stood at the top of the world. Judgment, the 10-year deadline hasn't really been reached yet. Aren't you being a little too hasty? If you're itching to fight, I'll gladly oblige. If you don't have the guts, then, scram. The Fiend Master stood on his war chariot, his expression cold and arrogant. Every word of his was filled with an undeniable domineering power and dominance. His last 3 words, in particular, transformed into a cold rebuke. Rumble! Between the Devil Lord and the Paragon of Judgment, the primal chaos exploded as if dozens of peerless experts had self-detonated at the same time. Monstrous waves surged towards the Paragon of Judgment like a tsunami that could topple mountains and overturn seas. The primal chaos energies judgment, S2's to judgment. 2 to Paragon of Judgments to the sovereigns, the 2 of them collided violently, shattering the surrounding chaos. The demons and sword lights were all defeated, but the judge's face was strangely flushed, and his entire body trembled violently. To the heavens he of his to the t. When the 2 of them clashed, it was obvious who had the upper hand. Without any suspense, Judgment was at a disadvantage. The confidence that he had built up was crushed in an instant. Fiend Master, even if you want to help the Shifter Emperor, you don't have to be so obvious. At this moment, the fallen demon ancestor said with a faint smile. Vaguely, there was an inexplicable meaning behind his words. He was indirectly blaming the Fiend Master for breaking the rules and aiding the Shifter Emperor. Face is given by others. Similarly, it's also given by one's own loss. The Fiend Master coldly snorted. He glanced at the fallen demon ancestor with disdain and said coldly, "Hiss." Just a few words, but it made the surrounding experts' hearts tremble. Every word was full of hidden meaning, making them tremble in fear. They sighed inwardly. This battle wasn't going to be a good show. Who knows, there might be a disaster waiting to happen. Before the battle even started, the killing intent had already filled the air. If the battle really started, small fries like us would be crushed into dust. Some of the experts couldn't help but regret coming to watch the battle. Now, it seemed that they had made a mistake. No one would have thought that the moment the 3 sides met, the smell of gunpowder would be so strong. That's right. Judgment, if you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish today. Rumble. At this moment, in the distance, the primordial chaos churned violently as waves of chi towered up into the sky. A towering divine might gushed over like tidal waves. Tens of thousands of auspicious clouds emitted auspicious light. Within the auspicious clouds, an ancient divine city could be seen. 4 gigantic heavenly gates could be seen, exuding a heaven-shaking might. 4 ancient celestial kings could be seen guarding the 4 directions. Millions of fairies were flying around the ancient city. There were no walls, but it could contain countless living beings. It was a magnificent place. Bustling and bustling scenes kept appearing. Strange scenes flashed one after another. Divine dragons, cheilants, white tigers, and other auspicious signs were moving around the ancient city. In front of the southern heavenly gate, they lined up neatly. Millions of demons stood together and their auras were connected. Above the demon army, the azure dragon, the white tiger, the vermilion bird, the black tortoise, and the cheilan, each of which was hundreds of thousands of feet long, appeared out of nowhere and let out a domineering roar. A blood-red battleship floated above the southern heaven gate. On the battleship, countless blood-kill guards stood at every important position. Murderous intent filled the air. The primordial 9 dragons were pulling a purple-gold war chariot in the center. Tion stood on the war chariot in a domineering manner. Around him, all the important officials of the demon court gathered behind him. Chen Shi, Mei Xian, Katomi, Bai Hu, and the others looked at the figure on the war chariot with solemn expressions. The demon court, it's the demon emperor! An almighty cultivator couldn't help but exclaim when he saw the approaching Ling Shao demon court. His eyes were filled with astonishment. He had a feeling that the ancient city in front of him was even more terrifying than the one from the sovereign domain they had come to before. Tian's arrival attracted all the gazes on the spot to him, especially Paragon of Judgment. When he saw Huang Xiaolong arrive, his eyes narrowed into slits. When he saw the blood-red battleship, the killing intent in his eyes was undisguised. He gritted his teeth and said, "Demon Emperor!" Judgment! Tian didn't back down. He met Paragon of Judgment's sharp gaze, which seemed capable of piercing through heaven and earth. Huang Xiaolong slowly spat out a sentence. "Very good. You actually dared to come. I thought you were too afraid to come out. I was planning to drag you out myself. Now that you're here, you've saved me a lot of trouble." Paragon of Judgment said coldly, "That's right. This emperor is here." Tian didn't argue with him. He said calmly, however, "Whether you or I will die, we won't know until the end." "Humph. Half-step sovereign. Very good. You took 10 years, but you're still just a half-step sovereign. Today, I'll let you know the difference between a half-step sovereign and a supreme. If you have any last words, you'd better say them now. Otherwise, you won't have the chance to say them again." Paragon of Judgment sneered. "As an emperor, I must bravely advance without fear. Even if there are thousands of soldiers and horses, I can still walk on blood. In the face of battle, only I will survive. This emperor is certain that I will be the only one standing. What last words do you have?" Sakra glanced at the supreme trial with a look of contempt and cautiously spat out a sentence. "You die, I live." On the other side, a beautiful figure walked out of the heart-devouring demon lord's palace. At a closer look, this figure's appearance and figure were indescribable. The most amazing thing was that this figure looked exactly the same as concubine Bewitching Heart, who was standing in front of the southern heaven's gate. Her appearance and aura were incomparably similar. However, there was a trace of anger on her face as she stared at Bewitching Heart. "Bewitching Heart, how dare you betray me?" the heart-devouring demon lord shouted coldly. "If you return to your position, I can forgive you for now. Otherwise, you know what I'm capable of." When Bewitching Heart saw the heart-devouring demon lord, a trace of panic appeared in her eyes. However, when she looked at Tian and the demon court, she naturally felt a trace of confidence. She mocked, "Heart-devouring demon, don't pretend to be kind. You are me and I am you. Ever since I left your body, I have a completely independent fate. If I return to my position, what awaits me will be my consciousness being erased by you. I'll become a heart-devouring demon again and become your heart. To you, it's returning to your position, but to me, it's death. I'm bewitching heart, not heart-devouring demon." Her words carried a kind of hysterical accusation. It was a kind of fear and anger that had been accumulating for countless years. Any living being that was born with consciousness was an independent life. It was impossible for them to not have their own thought. If bewitching heart were to return to her position, it would undoubtedly be a death. Demons were selfish by nature. How could bewitching heart, who had gained consciousness, be willing to die? Her resistance towards the heart-devouring demon lord had reached an unimaginable level. Do you really think that the demon emperor beside you can protect you? The heart-devouring demon lord glanced at Chertion with disdain. He sneered. My husband's ability isn't something that you can understand. Bewitching heart didn't back down and looked straight at the heart-devouring demon lord. I'm immortal, and you're immortal. With me here, whoever dares to touch my concubine, I'll poke you to death with a finger. Chertion looked at the heart-devouring demon lord coldly and arrogantly. His words carried the boundless tyranny of an emperor. It was as if anyone dared to touch his loved ones, he would really poke that person into dust with a finger. Ha ha! The heart-devouring demon lord laughed in anger. Good. Good. Very good. Demon Emperor, wait until you can come out of the final battle alive before you say this to me. Who dares to touch what's mine? Traces of killing intent flashed in his eyes. To be continued. If you like this work, you're welcome to come to Chidien. Come to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 1246. A Great War Has Begun. Requesting Monthly Vote. The heart-devouring demon ancestor's anger had accumulated to an unbearable level. Back then, she had suffered an inexplicable calamity in the chaos. Her heart had been smashed out of her body by an inexplicable heavenly coffin. Her cultivation had dropped from the demon ancestor level to the half-step demon ancestor level. Countless years of humiliation had almost driven her crazy. What she found most intolerable was that her heart had left her body and landed on the purple-gold mainland. Not only had it gained sentience, but it had also dared to disobey. Not only had it refused to return to its original position, but it had even tried to replace her. Even with her demon ancestor level, she could not suppress the anger in her heart. Replace. That's right. From the moment the bewitching heart refused to return to its original position, she had already seen through all of her thoughts. As a demon god, she understood the cunning and demonic nature of demon gods all too well. How could she allow such an existence to continue living? What was even more unbearable was that the bewitching heart had lost her virginity. The two of them could sense each other in one body. No matter what, she could not allow the bewitching heart to continue living. Chertion saw the murderous look in the heart-devouring demon ancestor's eyes and turned to the demon master. Demon master, can you watch over the heart-devouring demon ancestor for me until I return after killing Judgment Paragon? All right. The demon master nodded in an unusually carefree manner. Go ahead. The three of us will watch over here. Let's see who dares to act rashly. However, remember to come back alive. The three of us came here to watch over you. Go ahead without worry. No one can touch your demon court, the Space Lord said with a smile. The Space God said with a faint smile. Although he didn't say anything harsh, everyone could hear the confidence in his voice. Hearing this, whether it was the primordial paragon or the 9 demon ancestors, they could not help but reveal a slight chill. However, when they looked at the demon master and the other two, they still had a certain amount of fear. There was no other reason. The ruler of the divine tomb could unleash a terrifying destructive power that was 10 times or even 100 times stronger. In the same realm, they were almost invincible. They could not help but be afraid. Otherwise, the purple gold mainland would not have been able to withstand the invasion of the demon gods. Ong 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 ong! The 9 primordial dragons in front of Tion surged with dragon might, as if they were the ancestors of all dragons in the primordial chaos. At the same time, an extremely strong battle intent burst out from their bodies, and they spat out boundless divine radiance as they let out dragon roars. Just the dragon's roar alone was enough to shake the minds of many almighties. He was intimidated by the dragon might. Rumble! The immemorial 9 dragons waved their dragon claws forward, pulling the celestial emperor's war chariot. With a loud rumble, it shot out from the southern heaven gate. As the war chariot moved, countless suns, moons, stars, and the universe appeared on the war chariot. Thousands of creatures appeared and bowed to Tion. For a moment it was extremely beautiful. It was as if the war chariot was the center of the universe. He was the most supreme existence. An aura of supremacy spread out from the war chariot in all directions. The primal chaos in the surroundings was forcefully separated into 2 sides and continuously shattered. Endless amounts of earth, fire, water, and wind surged out. However, wherever the war chariot went, the earth, fire, water, and wind could not get close to the war chariot. Even the 9 primordial dragons could not be harmed at all. It was as if they were bathing in warm water. Lunatic D, you have to be careful. We have obtained too much information from the ancient city of primordial chaos, including this life and death desolation domain. This continent is a natural battlefield in the primordial chaos. Things inside are extremely stable. Even if a ruler enters, he would not be able to cause too much damage. Space, time, gravity, and so on are incomparable to the outside world. No matter how big the damage is, it can withstand it. But if you want to come out, only one can survive. Either Judge dies or we die. In particular, there are all kinds of disasters inside. You have to be careful. Dark's expression was extremely solemn. Since he had obtained the ancient city of primordial chaos, although he could not forcefully fuse with it, he continued to refine it. In the process of refining, the various information recorded in it had almost increased the foundation of the demon court. A large amount of knowledge filled the ultimate Emperor Jade archive, including the life and death desolation domain. Only a battle of life and death can force out all of my potential. Tion was not afraid. With an indomitable aura, the celestial emperor chariot came to the front of the battlefield's barrier. Without a pause, he charged straight in. As soon as he entered, he immediately felt a heavy pressure and restraint from the world outside. It was as if the gravity and stability of the world had increased several times, or even dozens of times. It was as if he was under great pressure at all times. As a result, the original destructive power and range of one's power would be reduced to 10 times its original level. As expected, this is a good battlefield. Tion felt the difference in the world around him. He felt the mysterious yuan qi that filled the air. It actually carried an ancient aura that was difficult to exist in the primordial chaos. It was as if this was a part of the eternal heaven realm. However, he did not feel it for too long. In the blink of an eye, he swept a glance at Paragon of Judgment and said, "Judgment, get in here." In a word, the domineering, decisive, and domineering spirit of an emperor almost broke out of his body. There was no longer any reservation or suppression. An arrogant aura and an emperor's aura enveloped his entire body. In an instant, he was incomparably tall. In a single sentence, the monster emperor that had dominated the primordial chaos had returned once more. These words shocked all the mighty figures who were watching the battle. Their jaws almost dropped to the ground. He wanted an archaic paragon to get down here. In this world, other than the monster emperor, Who else would dare to say such words? These words were not ordinary domineering. You can show off for now, but I hope you'll be able to say it later. Paragon of Judgment was expressionless when he heard the words. He only sneered coldly. He seemed to be taking a stroll in the park as he walked toward the battlefield step by step. A mysterious stairway to heaven appeared beneath his feet. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, Paragon of Judgment had entered the battlefield. He appeared in front of Chertion. With a wave of his hand, a yellow war chariot appeared out of thin air. In front of him, 9 huge purple unicorns pulled the war chariot. He stood on the war chariot, facing Chertion directly. It's time to settle the grudge between us. According to the rules of this battlefield, only one of us can leave. Paragon of Judgment coldly looked ahead. Cut the crap. Today, I'll let you know that no one can withstand the wrath of an emperor. Clang. Chertion's emperor's aura was as vast as the sea. He activated the ultimate emperor immortal body, and immortal divine rings rapidly appeared from his flesh and blood. A total of 12 undying divine rings appeared around his body, giving him an awe-inspiring emperor's might. His right hand had appeared on the slender hilt of the tiger soul on his back. With a twist of his wrist, a crisp sound rang out. A golden saber light cut through the air. Ultimate Emperor Tao, Emperor's Wrath. The saber followed a mysterious trajectory. It carried the anger of Paragon of Judgment's unfair trial and the anger of being hunted down. In an instant, it was completely poured into the saber. Emperor's Wrath, kill, kill, kill. The figure of an emperor condensed in the tiger's soul. His face was filled with anger, and endless murderous roars came from his mouth. Anger, anger, anger. Emperor's wrath would be unstoppable, and the sun and moon would lose their light. It was unstoppable. A violent rage swept towards the Paragon of Judgment, wanting to make her fall into a state of lust. Shifter Emperor, how could I not be prepared for your lust? I have the infinite heart jade to protect my mind. Your lust has no effect on me. Today I'll let you know my true strength. Paragon of Judgment was not affected by the anger that swept toward him. His right hand quickly appeared on the hilt of the Judgment battle sword on his back. With a twist of his wrist, the sword was instantly unsheathed. The sword pierced straight toward Chertion. A light flashed above his head, and a pagoda hung down billions of Xian Huang Qi. Protect the whole body. Judgment Sword Codex. Heavenly Retribution. The sword pierced toward Chertion's heart. Under the sword, he felt as if he had committed a monstrous sin. The heavens could not tolerate it, and the earth could not bury it. The heavens wanted to kill him, and the earth wanted to destroy him. There was no road to heaven, no door to hell. He felt as if he had surrendered and admitted defeat. His will was about to be completely destroyed. Rumble! The immemorial 9 dragons and the purple unicorn moved at almost the same time. They pulled the war chariot and charged forward like 2 huge armies. Tiger Soul drew out a blade light that was tens of thousands of feet long and slashed toward Paragon of Judgment's head. A terrifying purple flame burned on the blade. Once touched, even one's body would be burned to ashes. However, Paragon of Judgment was under the protection of the pagoda. He did not even have any defense. Sensing the killing intent from Tiger Soul, the pagoda shone brightly. It collided violently with Tiger Soul. On the spot, the Xian Huang Qi on the pagoda was shattered and burned to ashes by the flame on the blade. However, the Xian Huang Qi on the pagoda seemed to be endless. Once a strand was cut off, new Xian Huang Qi would quickly replace it. Although the pagoda was trembling violently, it still blocked Tiger Soul. As for the heavenly retribution, it was swift and fierce, and its will was domineering. The sword pierced out as fast as lightning. Rumble! 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 The heavenly emperor's canopy hanging above his head suddenly shone brightly and blocked the sword. On the canopy, countless figures of divine beasts flashed. Countless Emperor runes formed a formation and guided all the attacks into the Heavenly Emperor's furnace in the war chariot. It was quickly refined. Cracked. Although the Heavenly Emperor's canopy had an unparalleled defense, Paragon of Judgment was still a paragon. The sharp sword was in a stalemate with the canopy, but it still managed to pierce through the canopy. Ding! The battle sword that had pierced through the canopy still persistently stabbed straight towards Sakra Tianming. However, at the moment when it was about to pierce his heart, two fingers that were shining with purple gold-colored glaze appeared out of thin air. The two fingers clasped together and the body of the battle sword was inconceivably clamped between the two fingers. The last bit of judgment power in the sword exploded. It vibrated violently as if it was going to break the fingers apart and crush them. However, the two fingers were like the sea-stabilizing divine needle. They were so stable that it was hard to imagine. It was as if they grew out of the ground and clamped the sword tightly. The domineering judgment power was unable to move the two fingers. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1247. The Heavenly Monarch War Chariot was reforged by Sakra without a care for the cost. Inside the chariot, countless monarch-level treasures were smelted into it. The war chariot's grade soared all the way to the top of the innate cardinal treasures with a total of 8 innate divine seals. The Celestial Emperor's canopy on top specialized in defense. It was even fused with a supreme divine item like the Chaos Membrane. Its defense was unparalleled. Although the Judgment Battle Sword had pierced through the canopy had blocked 90% of the sword's power. How could the remaining power escape from Deshirtian's two fingers? Go! 12 imperishable divine rings spun between Deshirtian's fingers at an astonishing speed, unleashing a wondrous power that dissipated the sword's power. At the same time, the supreme imperial true force poured into the sword. With a twist of his fingers, the sword turned in the opposite direction and slashed back at the Paragon of Judgment. Rumble! The Celestial Emperor's chariot and the Judgment Battle Chariot swapped positions the moment the clash ended. Rays of sword light and saber chi scattered in all directions. When they landed on the ground, they only left simple sword and saber marks. It was a short confrontation, but the danger within it was not the slightest bit inferior to any desperate battle. Even the slightest bit of carelessness would lead to a tragic death. There was one law that filled the death domain with the aura of death. Under the laws of heaven and earth, even sovereigns could fall. If one was injured, the wounds could be healed quickly with one's powerful life force, but at the same time, one's own origin energy would be depleted, unable to be replenished from the outside world. The more one's origin energy was depleted, the more one's origin energy would be depleted. If one's head was chopped off, it could grow back, but the consumption of one's origin energy would be even greater. Once one's origin energy was completely depleted, one would die. The weaker one's origin energy was, the weaker one's strength would be. Even sovereigns would only have a stronger origin energy and battle prowess if they entered this place. If they weren't careful, they could still die. It was only a short confrontation, but it caused all the great figures outside to stare without blinking, as they were afraid of missing a single moment. Even though it was short, the scene they witnessed caused their minds to shake, and they exclaimed inwardly, "What a demon emperor! You are indeed powerful. No wonder you dared to challenge an ancient paragon." He was actually not at a disadvantage when fighting against the Paragon of Judgment. The battle this time is indeed not a one-sided situation. There will definitely be a fierce battle. A primordial godfiend exclaimed. Not necessarily. We're just testing each other's strength. After all, Judgment supremacy is a supremacy. No matter how strong the Beast Emperor is, he won't be able to fight against him. Once the Paragon of Judgment got serious, the Shifter Emperor would definitely be at a disadvantage. The best part is yet to come. However, there were also those who were optimistic about the Judgment Sovereign. After all, the difference in cultivation levels between the two of them was obvious. However, the 3 rulers, 8 ancient supremes, and 9 demon ancestors did not say anything. Instead, they calmly watched the battle unfold. As people of their level, they knew that it was too early to come to any conclusion until the end. In a fierce battle, anything could happen. Very well. The Paragon of Judgment glanced at the Celestial Emperor's war chariot and said coldly, "Do you think you can withstand my attacks just because you have a top-tier innate cardinal treasure? You will be very disappointed. Watch me break your war chariot. I'll let you know what it means to be a supremacy. Let me tell you, the difference between a supremacy and a supremacy is like the difference between heaven and earth." He stood on the war chariot with a battle sword in his hand. Exuding the aura of a supremacy, he twisted his wrist and slashed at the Celestial Emperor's war chariot. No sword light shot out from the battle sword. Only the Judgment battle sword's simple and unadorned body was revealed. Only the ancient runes on the sword gave off a unique Taoist rhyme. All of the power in the sword was concentrated in it. The Judgment battle sword was a top-tier innate cardinal treasure. A domineering judgment will float around the sword. Judgment Sword Codex. Heavenly Lightning Strike. Good timing. My Celestial Emperor's war chariot has the Demon Punisher and Judgment battle spears. Today, I will kill you and refine your body into the Judgment battle spears. Your judgment is unfair. What right do you have to wield judgment? Kill. Indra didn't show any signs of weakness. The domineering aura of an emperor almost soared into the sky, and the 12 immortal divine rings burst out with overflowing divine splendor, condensing to the point that they seemed to be solid as they revolved around him. The tiger soul in his hand slashed at the Judgment battle sword at an astonishing speed. Extreme Monarch Emperor Tao, devourer of the Taotai. It was as if there was a terrifying black hole within the saber, swallowing everything around it like a bottomless pit. Rumble. The 2 war chariots were pulled by the immemorial 9 dragons and the purple unicorn respectively. They charged ferociously in the air above the battlefield. The Judgment battle sword and Di Shirtion were like 2 great generals on the battlefield. Not only were they not at a disadvantage in terms of words, but they also did not back down in the slightest. Paragon of Judgment's primordial spirit was one with his flesh and blood. Every sword strike was filled with the true power of judgment. Not a single trace of it was wasted. Every single trace of true power was used to the limit of its destructive power. Every sword strike caused a terrifying crack to appear in the void of the battlefield. The power of every sword strike was solidly poured onto Sakra's body. Every strike was exquisite to the extreme. The use of power had reached the extreme. At the same time, Di Shirtion was not much weaker than the Judgment supremacy. His flesh and blood were one with his primordial spirit. The royal immortal true force was infused into his blade. Every strike was accompanied by the roar of a tiger. He did not show any signs of weakness as he met the Judgment supremacy's attacks head-on. His exquisite battle skills were unleashed to the extreme. However, the royal immortal true force was slightly lacked. It was as if he could not control the domineering true force in his body due to his cultivation level. While fighting against the Paragon of Judgment, waves after waves of tyrannical judgment power poured down on Lin Fan's body like a heavy mountain. Even the tiger soul in his hand seemed to be on the verge of being sent flying. However, the Celestial Emperor's war chariot allowed it to continuously channel the external force into the Celestial Emperor furnace. Bang bang bang! In just a few breaths of time, the 2 of them had already exchanged more than 10 blows on the battlefield. Rumble! The surrounding mountains were affected. When the tiger soul was pushed away by the Judgment battle sword, a saber landed on a mountain. A sharp saber light flashed and a section of the blood-red mountain was sliced off. The fierce battle inside had almost reached its climax on the spot. The spectating cultivators outside were shaken and their blood vessels expanded. What they had expected from the judgment supremacy did not happen. On the contrary, there was a vague feeling that they were not at a disadvantage when facing each other head-on. Shifter Emperor, I am the judgment supremacy. Supreme Judgment Pagoda, suppress. The judgment supremacy and Di Shirtian were using weapons to kill each other. During the battle, he could clearly feel that the judgment supremacy's battle skills were definitely not inferior to his own. If they continued to fight like this, the outcome would not be decided in a short period of time. The most despicable thing was that the Celestial Emperor's war chariot could help the judgment supremacy dispel the judgment supremacy's judgment supremacy. He didn't even think about it. After another collision, the two of them clashed again. He shouted coldly. Instantly, the supreme judgment pagoda that was hanging above his head flew into the air. Countless ancient runes flashed on the pagoda, and a domineering judgment will flowed within the pagoda. Within the boundless heavenly yellow divine light, countless living beings sang the praises of judgment. It was as if all the living beings in the heavens and realms were disdaining and condemning him. Condemned by 1,000, spurned by 10,000. A terrifying pressure instantly poured down on them. The pagoda became so huge that it could hold up the sky. It directly pressed down on the heavenly emperor war chariot. Rumble! The power of this supreme treasure was shocking. Strands of chi of heaven and earth fell from the sky, crushing the surrounding mountains and cracking the earth. The surrounding space collapsed. The terrifying pressure seemed to be able to completely seal the space between heaven and earth. Dang. You want to kill me? Judgment, do you really think that this emperor is still the same person that you could casually kill back then? Give me 10 years, and you will know how powerful this emperor has become. Heaven's reincarnation. Di Shirtian snorted coldly as he looked at the pagoda that was pressing down on him. Above his head, an ancient crystal bell appeared out of thin air. As soon as it appeared, the ancient bell began to violently expand. With a violent tremble, it emitted a loud bell sound. The tyrannical sound wave swept towards the pagoda. The scrolls on the bell were very lifelike. Carrying the heaven's reincarnation will, they directly crashed into the pagoda without any intention of dodging. Dang, dang, dang. Rumble. Both of them were top-tier Khanate cardinal treasures. When they collided, the surrounding space shattered into pieces. A terrifying spatial storm erupted. Countless beams of divine light shot out in all directions, piercing through the sky and turning the surrounding area into a mess. At the same time, the heaven's reincarnation bell responded with a domineering force. The imperishable divine rings around him trembled violently, and 3 of them were shattered on the spot. The war chariot was pushed back several hundred zhang. Shifter Emperor, you are just a half-step sovereign. So what if you have innate supreme treasures? Even if you have supreme treasures, you still won't be able to unleash their full power. Today, I will kill you and let you know that the dignity of a supreme is not something that an ant like you can offend. Judgment Supremacy stepped out of the war chariot with an invincible will and approached Di Shirtian step by step. He pointed at the supreme pagoda, and immediately, the pagoda slammed into the heaven's reincarnation bell again. Rumble. Peerless saints used innate spirit treasures while dominator saints used innate cardinal treasures because peerless saints could unleash the full power of innate cardinal treasures while dominator saints could unleash the full power of innate cardinal treasures. This was a kind of realm, a kind of invincible belief. The pagoda hit the ancient bell once again. Every strand of Xian Wang Qi seemed to be able to suppress everything in the world. In the collision, the heaven's samsara bell was forced to retreat. Every time Di Shirtian received feedback from the ancient bell, he felt as if he was being struck by lightning. However, every time they collided, Di Shirtian's eyes flashed with intense excitement. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Qidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1248. Those with tickets, please raise. How could the paragon of trial know that every time they collided, the overbearing trial true force would cause his flesh and blood to tremble continuously? The 129,600 Supreme Emperor Inextinguishable Emperor talismans were transmitting pure Supreme Emperor Inextinguishable true force, rapidly refining every inch of his flesh and blood. One could clearly see the intense pressure outside his body. His flesh and blood would turn into purplish gold crystals at an astonishing speed. Each crystal seemed to contain life and exuded a perfect Tao aura. They formed a hexagonal shape. They looked like crystals, but they also looked like flesh and blood. Every time he suffered a heavy blow, his flesh and blood would transform faster and faster. The crystallized flesh and blood would become incomparably powerful, more than 10 times stronger than before. With the help of the powerful pressure from the paragon of judgment, the transformation speed increased rapidly. Indistinctly, his physical body and primordial spirit fused into one. That kind of pure and true power constantly shuttled through his body. The speed of shuttling through the blood and flesh crystal was almost 10 times, 100 times faster than when it was shuttling through the blood and flesh crystal. It was as if with a thought, the true power in his body could arrive instantly. The true force was no longer concentrated in one place, but everywhere. Shifter Emperor, have you run out of tricks? I will kill you to avenge my pitiful little brother. You really deserve to die for killing my little brother. The paragon of judgment roared coldly. Boom, boom, boom. As he advanced, the paragon of judgment collided with the bell of reincarnation time and time again. Every strand of divine light pierced through the void. Boundless pressure surged towards Di Shirtion. With every step he took, the celestial emperor's chariot was pushed back several hundred zhang. Vaguely, the paragon of judgment was suppressing the shifter emperor with his supreme cultivation. This scene immediately caused an uproar when it was seen outside. How is this possible? Just a moment ago, the Yao emperor was still able to fight evenly with the paragon of judgment. He even seemed to be on par with the paragon of judgment. How could he suddenly be at a disadvantage? He can't even fight back. Could it be that the paragon of judgment is so powerful when he uses a supreme treasure? That's impossible. The difference between before and after is so great. No matter how great the difference between half-step sovereigns is, this shouldn't happen. Given the Yao Emperor's previous performance, there must be something fishy going on. The shifter emperor is purposely showing weakness in order to numb judges' determination. Could it be that the primordial sovereigns are really that powerful? Impossible. As an emperor, the demon emperor must still have a lot of trump cards that he hasn't used yet. It's said that back then, in the heaven-reaching pagoda, he once unleashed a strange heavenly coffin, causing the judgment court to be flustered. He hadn't used any of these methods yet. There was definitely something fishy going on. However, if you want to paralyze the trial like this, it will definitely not succeed. As a supreme being, no one will be paralyzed. Almost on the spot, all kinds of discussions immediately sounded in the surroundings. Obviously, there was a strong sense of confusion and doubt about the scene in front of them. Demon Emperor, if you're trying to confuse me, then you're wrong. Even if you're just an ant, I won't let you go. I don't care what you're plotting. If you're not the Sovereign Lord, then don't even think about fighting me. I'll send you to the Western Paradise. Paragon of Judgment sneered as boundless killing intent burst forth from his body. Judgment Sword Codex. Monstrous sins. Rumble. You've sinned, and your crimes are unforgivable. You must be executed, executed. The Judgment War Sword fiercely stabbed towards Sakra's head. The speed of the war sword seemed to be extremely slow. At the same time, every time it stabbed out, the judgment will burst out from the war sword at an astonishing speed. It was as if the one in front of him was an evil person with monstrous sins. Heaven and earth couldn't tolerate this, and his crimes were unforgivable. It was as if there were countless living beings on the sword madly criticizing and spitting on it, letting out angry cries of judgment. A monstrous wave of air rushed into the sky like a tsunami. It formed a substantial wave on the battlefield, and within it, countless living beings let out cries of judgment. Wherever it went, the blood-colored mountain in front of it would be pulverized. This was a kind of momentum, an unstoppable tide. Crack! The void around the chariot distorted. It was as if it was imprisoned. Chertion waved his hand and sent the celestial emperor's chariot and the primordial 9 dragons to one side. It blocked the domineering sword head-on. It felt as if the terrifying pressure was going to crush the emperor's body into powder. Clink, clink, clink. Countless strands of ultimate emperor indestructible true power in his body began to transform his flesh and blood into crystals at an unprecedented speed under the pressure of external forces. He stood in the air, his black hair dancing wildly behind his head, as if he was standing in the middle of a storm. Whoosh! 2 brilliant rays of divine light shot out from his eyes, piercing through the void. An unparalleled majesty poured out, as if an ancient emperor had completely awakened at this moment. He coldly shouted, "Judgment, do you really think that this emperor made a promise of 10 years with you just to come here and die? Today, I'll let you know who the ant is." Clink, clink, clink. With a cold shout, countless crackling sounds like beans being fried could be heard from within the emperor's body. The ultimate emperor shocks the world, refining the divine cauldron, stabilizing the universe, ultimate emperor indestructible, shattering the emperor's body, annihilating and rebirth, combining spirit and body, ascending to sovereign. As soon as he finished speaking, one of the 9 demonic cauldrons that had been suppressed in the demon abode suddenly shattered. Within the demonic cauldron, the ultimate emperor's true force rushed out like an ocean and poured into the emperor's body through the demon abode. Each of the 9 demonic cauldrons had the enormous power of a half-step sovereign. Every mouthful could instantly create a half-step sovereign realm almighty. The power contained within was so strong that it was rarely seen in the world. At this moment, when one of the demonic cauldrons shattered, the surging power immediately poured into his body, surging into the 129,600 ultimate emperor's indestructible emperor talismans around him. Originally, the power in his body was only 1 step away from sovereign. Now, he had this enormous power, and it was the purest ultimate emperor's true force. On the spot, his flesh and blood all transformed into crystals. Endless divine light burst forth. Boom, boom, boom. The 12 indestructible divine rings around his body spun, at almost the same time. When all the divine rings spun at the same time, the power produced was already at the peak of the emperor's body. With this, the entire emperor's body collapsed and was crushed to pieces. The emperor's body completely disintegrated, and the flesh and blood all turned into 129,600 drops of purplish gold blood essence. Each drop of blood essence had become as hard as a crystal and was almost indestructible. Outside each crystal, 12 indestructible divine rings spun continuously. From the void, the endless desire of love poured into every drop of blood essence like a tide. The enormous ultimate emperor's true force flowed within the blood essence. Each drop of blood essence contained an ultimate emperor's indestructible emperor talisman. Gather! With a decisive shout, all the blood essence quickly gathered in a mysterious ultimate emperor's indestructible divine formation in a miraculous way. It spun rapidly and gathered in the center. In the blink of an eye, the shattered body was once again reformed at an astonishing speed. The powerful emperor's body stood in the void. Boom, boom, boom. The moment the emperor's true body was formed, it was completely released, revealing its original body. A majestic emperor's body that was 100 million feet tall stood in the void. Outside it, the 13th indestructible divine ring, the divine ring of love, formed. 13 indestructible divine rings were born from the flesh and blood at the same time. The divine rings that surrounded the Emperor's body made it seem incomparably majestic. Within the newly born divine ring of love, the enormous ultimate Emperor's true force and the power of desire poured into it like a tide. The illusory divine ring transformed at an incredible speed, turning into a real entity at an astonishing speed. It was becoming stronger with every passing moment. I am the Emperor, I have become the ruler, and I have suppressed the desire realm. Primordial spirit, physical body, I am the ruler. From Di Shirtian's Emperor's body, waves of majestic Emperor's aura spread wildly in all directions. The space around him was distorted inch by the pressure. Vaguely, the entire world seemed to be under his control, dominating everything, wielding the heavenly Tao. Powerful, unprecedentedly powerful. At this moment, what appeared on his body was a supreme Emperor's aura that was 10 times, 100 times, or even 1,000 times stronger than before. On the Emperor's body, purplish gold-colored divine light kept flowing. Outside the battlefield, all the peerless almighties who were staring at Di Shirtian's body screamed in pain. Their eyes instantly closed, and one could see streaks of blood flowing out of their pupils. They couldn't look directly at the Emperor's body. Just a glance was enough to injure their eyes from the divine light, almost blinding them. Rumble! Above his head, an enormous 9-colored tribulation cloud gathered from all directions at an incredible speed, covering the entire battlefield. Traces of shocking pressure poured out from the tribulation cloud. Impossible, how did you become a ruler? To become a ruler, one's primordial spirit and flesh and blood must be united. How did you do it? There are countless half-step sovereigns, and those who are able to take that final step have to spend thousands of years or even tens of thousands of years. How could you have so easily taken that step? You should have been able to become a sovereign long ago. You're lying to me. Paragon of Judgment's expression changed drastically, and he let out a furious roar. He immediately understood what was going on. A last-minute breakthrough? Such a thing wouldn't be strange if it happened when one was weak, but the stronger one was, the rarer it would be. At the peerless realm, last-minute breakthroughs were practically impossible. Even the slightest bit of improvement would take thousands of years, especially when one was breaking through from half-step ruler to ruler. There was no such thing as a last-minute breakthrough at this step. And yet Di Shirtian had done it. Clearly, this wasn't a real last-minute breakthrough. He had the strength to break through long ago, but had forcibly suppressed it until now. Previously, he had faced Paragon of Judgment in a weak state, numbing Paragon of Judgment. Although Paragon of Judgment took him seriously, he still followed Paragon into the battlefield. In the end, there was no way out, so he finally broke through. His intentions were murderous. His intentions were murderous. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1249. Vote up if you have a ticket. Paragon of Judgment was so angry that his eyes darkened. The fury in his heart almost spat out. Although he might not have dared to go against the agreement even if he knew that the Yao Emperor had ascended to ruler, it was true. If he had known, he might not have entered the life and death domain. After all, the letter of challenge wasn't flawless. As long as the other party came and fought, it would count. The rules couldn't punish him. But now, the Yao Emperor clearly wanted to trick him into entering the life and death domain. It made it impossible for him to do anything else. He had to have a life and death battle with him to decide the victor. Either you die or I die. All paths of retreat were cut off. Out of the two, only one could survive. If it was before, Paragon of Judgment would have said that he would win without hesitation. But now, after witnessing Di Shirtian's ascension to ruler, his chances of winning dropped rapidly. The gap between the two of them was constantly narrowing. It was clear who would win and who would lose. This kind of calculation made him burn with anger. The Yao Emperor is ascending to ruler at this moment. It seems that he is indeed scheming. He actually pretended to be weak and let judgment enter the life and death domain. What a Yao Emperor, what a terrifying speed of ascension! Since the beginning of his cultivation, he has reached this step in such a short time. He even took a step that many half-step rulers might not be able to take in tens of thousands of years. If such an anomaly is allowed to grow, he will surpass us in a short time. Our previous preparations and plans were right. We can't let him have any chance of survival. The childlike forefather Terminator transmitted to the other paragons with a serious expression. Don't be anxious. It's not that easy to ascend to ruler. The fusion of flesh and Yuan spirit is a Tao foundation that must be formed. But whether he can truly ascend depends on whether he can condense his own fate and become the master of his own destiny. Passing the ruler karmic calamity. The number of experts who have fallen in this trial is not small. The radiant God King said in a deep voice. Ascending to ruler? As expected, our calculations were not wrong. The Demon Emperor would definitely be the biggest variable and the biggest obstacle for us to invade the purple gold continent. Fortunately, we formed an alliance with the supreme ancient immemorial saint to kill the Demon Emperor. This time, we will definitely not let him continue to be unfettered. We must kill him in one strike. Long delays may lead to trouble. The fallen devil ancestor was also transmitting his voice to the 9 devil ancestors. Seeing the scene in the life and death extinction domain, everyone's face turned ugly. The advancement of the Demon Emperor undoubtedly meant that the Zijin continent's strength had increased. This was not good news for them. Each and every one of them had traces of killing intent circulating around their bodies. The atmosphere in the surroundings seemed to have changed on the spot. It was exceptionally oppressive. This scene naturally didn't escape the eyes of the 3 chief sovereigns of fate. Even they were shocked by Sakra's sudden ascension to the ruler realm. Even though they had obtained the divine tomb, they still found it difficult to ascend to the ruler realm. However, he did not expect that Di Shirtian would be able to reach this step silently. Good. 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 If the Fiend Emperor can become a sovereign, my purple gold continent will have another supreme expert. Fate, space, we have to be careful. Now that the Yao Emperor has become a sovereign, the Archean Autarch and the 9 Archdevil Patriarchs might not be willing to see him leave this place alive. The Demon Master laughed heartily, but at the same time, he also felt the chill of the surrounding atmosphere. No matter what price we have to pay, we must bring the Fiend Emperor out of this place alive. The chief sovereign of fate didn't say much. He only said this one sentence calmly, but it was clear that he valued the Fiend Emperor greatly. Of course, these words were only transmitted to the 3 of them. But now, the crowd was in an uproar. After witnessing Di Shirtian's breakthrough, all of them were so shocked that their eyeballs were about to fall out of their sockets. A sovereign! The Fiend Emperor really did become a sovereign. My goodness, am I dreaming? Breaking through in the middle of a battle? What kind of situation is this? The Fiend Emperor is already incomparably powerful, even daring to provoke autarchs. If he breaks through, who in the world won't he dare to provoke? A sovereign! Haha! Breaking through to the sovereign level is an extremely rare occurrence. For us to be able to witness it with our own eyes is the most inconceivable opportunity in the world. If I can comprehend the mysteries of breaking through to the sovereign level, then I'll be able to use this experience to advance even further. In the world, anyone who wanted to break through to the sovereign level would find a safe place to do so. Who would do it in such a public place? Let alone in the past, perhaps even in the future, they wouldn't have the opportunity to personally witness a sovereign breakthrough. This was a one-of-a-kind opportunity. All of the major powers widened their eyes in shock. Ignoring the strange atmosphere in the air, they stared fixedly at the battlefield, afraid that they would miss a single moment. They would regret it for the rest of their lives. Rumble! A dazzling beam of sword light descended from the heavens. The Judgment Warsword sliced through space, carrying with it the will of judgment as it stabbed toward Tion with lightning speed. Don't even think about successfully becoming a sovereign. I won't let you succeed. I'll make you fall on your path to becoming a sovereign. I'll make you die with everlasting regret. Kill! The Autarch of Judgment's lips curled into a savage grin. Countless living beings worshipped the sword. It was the kingdom of judgment. His domineering will caused the void beneath the sword to shatter. He wanted Tion to die by his sword. How could he allow the sovereign to successfully become a sovereign? Bell of heavenly samsara, protect me! The bell of heaven's samsara suddenly appeared in front of the Judgment War Sword. Within the ancient bell, a blood-red light shot out from the blood-red demon slaying gourd. A girl in blood-red clothes appeared on a blood-red flying knife and danced on the knife. As she danced, the blood-red knife slashed towards the Judgment War Sword. Clang! Although the dagger didn't break the Judgment War Sword, it dimmed the will of judgment imbued within it. It was sent flying. However, the bell of heavenly samsara shook, and the domineering sound of samsara swept up waves of sound that condensed into countless plates of samsara that continuously whittled away at the Judgment Warsword's power. Dark, Tion roared, I'll have to rely on you two to hold off the Judgment Warsword for now. Once I transcend my karmic tribulation and become a sovereign, the Judgment Warsword will die. Sensing the increasing pressure above his head, he knew the karmic tribulation was about to descend. He couldn't afford to be affected in any way. Without the slightest hesitation, he completely revealed his two trump cards. Don't worry, lunatic D. As long as I, Dark, am here, even if I die, I won't let the Judgment Warsword near you. You must become a sovereign. Haha, the Master of Dark is a sovereign. If anyone dares to look down on me, I'll lock them up as I wish. Judgment, I'm going to fight you. Amidst the blood-red light, countless blood-red sabers danced in the sky. In an instant, they condensed into a blood-red dragon that was hundreds of thousands of meters long. Countless saber lights flickered around it. It appeared in front of the bell of heavenly samsara and entered it. Clang! 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 The bell of heavenly samsara began to ring. The deafening chimes of the bell unleashed an unimaginable might, shattering the space in the surroundings. Waves of sound waves transformed into countless reincarnation discs that carried the power of reincarnation as they charged towards Paragon Judgment. A mere artifact's soul wants to stop me? You're courting death. You're just an ant. The Paragon of Judgment was so angry that his eyes were spitting fire. He slashed his sword at the wheel of samsara. Wherever it went, the wheel of samsara would be crushed into pieces. At this moment, Tion had no time to deal with anything else. His eyes were fixed on the 9-colored tribulation cloud above his head. Crack! The tribulation clouds gathered at an astonishing speed. In the blink of an eye, they had completely covered the entire battlefield. They were so thick that they seemed like they were about to condense into a solid body. The overwhelming pressure crushed the chaotic storms that had appeared on the battlefield. The disasters all involuntarily stopped, turning into docile kittens. At the very center there was a soft sound. The tribulation clouds quickly parted to two sides. A huge 9-colored eye appeared out of thin air. Within this eye, countless energy grid line chains were shuttling back and forth continuously, forming an endless amount of pressure that came crashing down on the Sakra madly. As if it had its own consciousness, it stared at his face. Whoosh! This divine eye seemed to be able to see through everything in Tion's body. It seemed to have sensed that his flesh and blood had merged with his primordial spirit, and that his true power had reached the sovereign realm. On the spot, there was no hesitation. A beam of 9-colored divine light shot out from the divine eye and shrouded him. It was extremely fast. Come, watch as I ask the heavens for my fate. Only I can control my own fate. Tion stood in the void. His eyes emitted an extremely aggressive gaze as he stared at the divine light. He had no intention of dodging it. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, the divine light shrouded his entire body. As soon as it shrouded him, a mysterious long river appeared before his eyes. In the long river, there seemed to be the fate of all things in the world. Traces of fate flickered. At the same time, he was shrouded by the divine light. It was as if time was passing at an astonishing speed. Strands of white hair appeared on his originally pitch-black hair at a speed visible to the naked eye. The number of strands of white hair increased at an astonishing speed with each breath. An aura of death enveloped his entire body. Sovereign karmic calamity, 3 lifetimes, 3 lifetimes. Fate in the void, sever 3 lifetimes, gather fate and condense fate. Once the karmic calamity begins, there is no possibility of stopping. If I don't succeed, I'll die trying. The sovereign of fate looked at the divine light with a deep gaze. The divine light was called the light of 3 lifetimes. Once it landed on a person, no matter who it was, they would be completely destroyed and decayed within 45 minutes. They would be reduced to ashes. These 45 minutes represented 3 lifetimes, the past life, the present life, and the future. In other words, the past, present, and future. In a lifetime, there was a moment. 3 lifetimes and 3 minutes were engraved in heaven and earth. What was the sovereign of fate? It was because he could control his own fate, and his own future. In order to do so, he had to sever 3 lifetimes, gather fate, and condense the fate of a sovereign. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidien. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1250. Brothers, if you have tickets, please help me. 3 lives, 3 worlds was not really 3 reincarnations. It was the past, present, and future. This was fate. At the sovereign realm, if one had not severed 3 lifetimes, not only would they not be able to condense a fate chart, but they would also have an irreparable flaw. An expert at that level could use a shocking divine ability to directly enter their past and kill their past self. If their past self died, their present self would definitely suffer unimaginable injuries or even die. To form a birth chart, one had to sever the 3 lifetimes. There was only one way to sever the 3 lives, and that was the light of 3 lives that descended when one ascended to the sovereign realm. Although the light of 3 lives would completely consume the life of 3 lives within 45 minutes, once the 45 minutes were up, one would be unable to form a birth chart and die. However, within the light of 3 lives, one could enter the river of destiny, going back and forth between the past, present, and future. Heaven's mandate is heaven's mandate. Earth's mandate is earth's mandate. Man's mandate is mortal's mandate. Heaven's mandate cannot be violated. Earth's mandate cannot be reversed. Mortal's mandate cannot be changed. In an instant, a boundless river of destiny appeared before his eyes. In this long river, the figures of countless lives flashed one after another. All sorts of destinies intertwined together, forming an irresolvable fate. Gratitude and resentment, love and hatred, the passage of time. In that instant, it was as if the laws of heaven and earth were right before his eyes. My life is in my hands. Watch this emperor severing 3 lives. Rumble? Tion stood in the divine light, not caring at all about his rapidly growing white hair. He lifted his foot, stepped into the void, and stepped into the boundless long river. As soon as he stepped into the river of destiny, a purple-gold crystal silently fell onto the battlefield. This river was formed from the convergence of the destinies of countless living beings. As soon as he entered, countless destinies frantically wrapped around him. Countless fate seals surged forth like a tide. He wanted to hinder his footsteps. Time is the mark, destiny is the track. Swim in destiny, return to the past. Di Shirtian's imperial tyrant heart mantra continued to circulate in his mind, emitting a mysterious imperial hymn. He wasn't affected by the seal of fate that was approaching him at all as he uttered a single word. In an instant, he captured the aura and trajectory of his own destiny within the long river of destiny. Although his fate was mysterious and unpredictable, and no one could control his future, as long as it happened, it would exist in the traces of time, in the long river of fate. What happened could not be changed. Although the future was unpredictable, the past could be clearly investigated. On the spot, he felt that in the long river of destiny, traces of life marks that were identical to his instantly appeared in his mind. Whoosh! He raised his foot and took a step forward along the path guided by his life mark. This step was like stepping into a space-time tunnel. A strange void appeared before his eyes. In the void, various scenes flashed before his eyes. Astonishingly, everything that had happened to him along the way could be clearly seen. This was a mark left behind by fate. Grotesque and gaudy, the passage of time. As if time and space had changed, the scenery in front of him suddenly changed. What appeared in front of him was the scene of the Tiger Hill mountain range. In front of his eyes, a robust black tiger was doing its best to smash its body against trees, rocks, and rock. It was doing its best to temper its body. Its resolute eyes were filled with an unyielding belief. Di Shirtian's hair had turned snowy white. Traces of time appeared on his face. Vaguely, he looked like he was in his 30s. The power of the light of 3 lifetimes could continuously devour his life. This emperor's past only represents the past. My past is the beginning of the present. It is an eternal memory. Although it is a mortal body, it is the foundation stone. My past will not tolerate any blasphemy. Di Shirtian silently looked at his past body that was tempering its abilities in the Tiger Hill. In his mind, traces of memories continuously appeared. There seemed to be a trace of melancholy in his eyes. However, he did not hesitate. In the blink of an eye, he had turned around. With supreme dignity, he slowly uttered a sentence. He spat out the words crack. In the sky above the Tiger Hill, a purplish gold emperor's sword condensed out of thin air. The sword landed on the body of the black tiger in the past. The black tiger in the past did not have the slightest ability to resist and was shattered on the spot. Rumble! The surrounding destiny space suddenly collapsed. The memories of the past were shattered, turning into countless fragments of destiny. They gathered together at an unbelievable speed. The formless flames of destiny ignited. Countless tiny fragments of destiny were quickly refined in the flames of destiny. In the blink of an eye, all the fragments gathered into one. It turned into a crystal-like oval-shaped stone. On the stone, traces of destiny could be seen. Vaguely, scrolls of pictures flickered and changed on the stone. This stone shone with an unusual divine radiance as it landed in Indra's hand. He glanced at it and said, "Human life stone, mortal life stone. From today onwards, in the river of destiny, in this world, no one will be able to find any traces of this emperor's past." This mortal stone had completely slashed the past. This stone was the past. It contained all the traces of the past. Whoosh! Slash the past, slash the present. Indra stepped forward, following the flow of the river of fate as he continued onwards. He passed through the destiny space. The past was easy to slash, but the present was hard to cut, and the future was hard to predict. This was the most difficult and terrifying thing to say when ascending to the sovereign realm. In the blink of an eye, they were in another dimension of destiny. Yang Qi and Yang Qi were in a different dimension. In this space, there was an emperor's body, wearing a black emperor's robe, sitting on a throne in the clouds. He had an aura of disdain for the world, standing proudly. A pair of eyes instantly opened and landed on D. Shirtion. I am your present life, your present body. What you know, I also know. What you know, I also know. How strong you are, I will be as strong. If you want to kill me, it's the same as killing yourself. If you don't kill me, you will never get the Earth Fate Stone. Defeat me, and you will get the Earth Fate Stone. Hurry! Sitting on the throne, the present body exuded a majestic emperor's aura as he spoke calmly. Sakra's eyes shot out a threatening divine light. Looking at himself who was sitting in front of him, countless rays of wisdom flickered in his mind. His eyes were filled with the splendor of wisdom as he smiled calmly. You are me, and I am you. If I die, you will also die. Watch this emperor slash the present life. D. Shirtion laughed loudly. His laughter was filled with joy and freedom. There was also a kind of endless decisiveness. He reached out his right hand. The moment he reached out, his entire hand turned into a mysterious purple-gold color. A vast amount of mighty energy gathered in his hand like a tide. He raised his arm and slammed his palm down on the top of his head. If I die, you will also die. Crack. Sakra didn't have the slightest bit of reservation in this palm strike and directly patted on his own head. The decisiveness of an emperor was thoroughly revealed. The enormous mighty energy in his hand instantly poured out. In an instant, the entire emperor's body, starting from the head, started to crumble and explode. It was destroyed on the spot. This was self-destruction. If others wanted to kill him, it would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens. However, if he wanted to die, it was the easiest thing in the world. On the spot, his body turned into dust, and there was no trace of life left. Good. Now that the present body saw it, his black hair danced wildly behind his head, and he could not help but burst out laughing. With a kind of arrogance, the entire emperor's body turned into dust. In the void, the invisible fire of destiny appeared out of nowhere. At the place where the present body fell, a white stone formed out of thin air. On the stone, a figure that was exactly the same as Sakra was engraved on it. A kind of aura that existed in the present constantly spread out and circulated within. In an instant, it shot out quickly and broke through the void. Whoosh! In the light of 3 lives on the battlefield, a black stone and a snow-white stone appeared out of thin air and floated up and down. Mortal life stone, earth life stone. The Shifter Emperor actually slashed his past body in 15 minutes and used the fire of destiny to form the life stone. Now, the present body is the most difficult to sever. How did he do it? Also, where is the Shifter Emperor now? Is he going to the future to sever his future body? The goddess of wisdom took a deep breath and muttered. Countless lights of wisdom flickered in her mind as she quickly calculated D. Shirtion's intentions in her mind. One had to know that the most amazing thing about the future was not to sever one's future body, but to sever one's connection with destiny. To cut off one's destiny. To intercept one's destiny. To intercept one's future. To form the destiny stone. It was not to sever one's future body. Severing one's destiny meant that one no longer existed in destiny, and the future would be created by oneself. Without an unprecedented power, it was impossible to sever one's connection with destiny. Moreover, there was only one chance to sever one's destiny, and that was during the short period of time in the light of 3 lives. If one could not sever one's destiny, there would be no need to create a future, and there would be no future at all. How could the Shifter Emperor sever his 2 bodies so quickly? In the hearts of the 9 great demon ancestors, they were also greatly shocked by the scene before them. Although severing 3 lives was very dangerous, one would not understand it if they had not experienced it before. It was a journey of 9 deaths. Rumble! At this moment, in the light of 3 lives, a purple-gold divine light suddenly shot up into the sky. Within the divine light, Di Shirtian's emperor body appeared out of nowhere again. The aura on his body became even more mysterious, as if it could surpass heaven and earth at any time. Countless chains of laws shuttled through his flesh. My destiny is determined by my own heart, and it will never be controlled by the river of destiny. My heart is the future. Sword of the heart, sever the future. Whoosh! A purple-gold Taoist sword shot out from his heart and slashed down toward his head. There was a cracking sound. The river of destiny above his head suddenly collapsed. It was completely shattered. Countless fragments of destiny gathered at the center at an astonishing speed, and in the blink of an eye, they turned into a purple-gold stone. It seemed to contain an unfathomable destiny. Heaven, earth, and man, the three stones become one. 3 lives, 3 generations. My destiny is mine, not the heavens. Ruler's destiny gather. Chapter 1251. Brothers, if you have tickets, please help me. 3 lives, 3 worlds was not really 3 cycles of reincarnation. It was the past, present, and future. This was fate. At the sovereign realm, if one had not severed 3 lifetimes, not only would they not be able to condense a fate chart, but they would also have an irreparable flaw. An expert at that level could use a shocking divine ability to directly enter one's past and kill one's past self. If one's past self died, one's present self would definitely suffer unimaginable injuries or even die. To condense a birth chart, one had to sever the 3 lifetimes. There was only one way to sever the 3 lives, and that was the light of 3 lives that descended when one became a sovereign. Although the light of 3 lives would consume all of the life of 3 lives within 3/4 of an hour, once the time was up, one would be unable to form a birth chart and die. However, within the light of 3 lives, one could enter the river of destiny. Back and forth between the past, the present, and the future. Heaven's mandate is heaven's mandate. Earth's mandate is earth's mandate. Man's mandate is mortal's mandate. Heaven's mandate cannot be violated. Earth's mandate cannot be defied. Mortal's mandate cannot be changed. In an instant, a vast and boundless river of destiny appeared before his eyes. In this long river, the figures of countless lives flashed one after another. All sorts of fates intertwined together, forming a fate that was difficult to resolve. Gratitude and resentment, love and hatred, the passage of time. In that instant, it was as if the laws of heaven and earth were right before his eyes. My life is in my hands. Watch as this emperor slays 3 lives. Rumble? Sakra stood in the divine light, not caring in the slightest about the rapidly increasing white hair on his body. He lifted his leg and stepped into the void, stepping into that boundlessly mellow and boundless long river. As soon as he stepped into the river of fate, a purple-gold crystal silently landed on the battlefield. This river was formed from the fates of countless living beings. As soon as he entered, countless fates frantically wrapped around him. Countless fate imprints surged forth like a tide. They wanted to tie him down. Time is the mark, destiny is the track. Swim in destiny and return to the past. Di Shirtian's imperial tyrant heart mantra continued to circulate in his mind, emitting waves of wondrous imperial hymns. He was completely unaffected by the imprints of fate that were pouncing towards him as he uttered a word with the supreme might of an emperor. In an instant, he captured the aura and trajectory of his own destiny within the long river of destiny. Although his fate was mysterious and unpredictable, and no one could control his future, as long as it happened, it would exist in the traces of time, in the long river of fate. What happened could not be changed. Although the future was unpredictable, the past could be clearly investigated. On the spot, he felt that in the long river of destiny, traces of life marks that were identical to his instantly appeared in his mind. Whoosh! He raised his foot and took a step forward along the path guided by his life mark. This step was like stepping into a space-time tunnel. A strange void appeared before his eyes. In the void, various scenes flashed before his eyes. Astonishingly, everything that had happened to him along the way could be clearly seen. This was a mark left behind by fate. Grotesque and gaudy, the passage of time. As if time and space had changed, the scenery in front of him suddenly changed. What appeared in front of him was the scene of the Tiger Hill mountain range. In front of his eyes, a robust black tiger was doing its best to push its body against trees, rocks, and rock. It was doing its best to temper its body. Its resolute eyes were filled with an unyielding belief. Deschertien's hair had turned snow-white. Traces of time appeared on his face. Vaguely, he looked like he was in his 30s. The power of the light of 3 lifetimes could continuously devour his life. My past only represents the past. My past is the beginning of the present, and it is an eternal memory. Although it is a mortal body, it is the foundation stone. My past will not be blasphemed. Deschertien silently looked at his past body that was tempering its abilities in the Tiger Hill. In his mind, traces of memories kept surging. There seemed to be a trace of melancholy in his eyes. However, he did not hesitate. In the blink of an eye, he had turned around. With supreme dignity, he slowly uttered a sentence. He spat out the words crack. In the sky above the Tiger Hill, a purple-gold emperor's sword condensed out of thin air. The sword landed on the body of the black tiger in the past. The black tiger in the past did not even have the slightest ability to resist and was shattered on the spot. Rumble! The surrounding space of destiny suddenly collapsed. The memories of the past were shattered, turning into countless fragments of destiny. They gathered together at an unbelievable speed and condensed into a single point. An invisible flame of destiny lit up. Countless tiny fragments of destiny were quickly smelted in the flame of destiny. In the blink of an eye, all the fragments gathered into one. It turned into a crystal-like oval-shaped stone. On the stone, traces of fate could be seen. Vaguely, scrolls of pictures were constantly flickering and changing on the stone. This stone shone with an unusual divine radiance as it landed in Indra's hand. He glanced at it and said, "Mortal life stone, mortal life stone. From today onwards, in the river of destiny, in this world, no one will be able to find traces of this emperor's past." This mortal stone had completely slashed the past. This stone was the past. It contained all the traces of the past. Whoosh! Slash the past, slash the present. Indra stepped forward, following the flow of the river of fate as he continued onward. He traversed through the space of destiny. The past was easy to slash, but the present was hard to cut, and the future was hard to predict. This was the most difficult and terrifying thing to say when ascending to the sovereign realm. Traversing through the long river of destiny, in the blink of an eye, he entered another space of destiny. In this space, there was an emperor's body, wearing a black emperor's robe, sitting on a throne in the clouds. He had an aura of disdain for the world and stood proudly. A pair of eyes instantly opened and landed on Deschertien. "I am your present life, your present body. What you know, I also know. What you know, I also know. However strong you are, I will be as strong. If you want to kill me, it's the same as killing yourself. If you don't kill me, you will never be able to obtain the Earth Fate Stone. Defeat me, and you will be able to obtain the Earth Fate Stone. Hurry!" The present body sitting on the throne exuded a majestic emperor's aura as he spoke calmly. Indra's eyes emitted an oppressive divine light. Looking at himself who was sitting in front of him, countless rays of wisdom flickered in his mind. His eyes were filled with the divine splendor of wisdom as he smiled calmly, "You are me, and I am you. If I die, you will also die. Watch this emperor end this life." Deschertien laughed loudly. His laughter was filled with joy and ease. There was a kind of boundless decisiveness in it. He stretched out his right hand decisively. The moment it stretched out, his entire hand turned into a mysterious purple-gold color. A vast amount of grand energy gathered in his hand like a tide. He raised his hand and slapped towards the top of his head with the back of his hand. "If I die, you will also die." Crack! Sakra didn't have the slightest bit of reservation in this palm strike and directly patted on his own head. The decisiveness of an emperor was thoroughly revealed. A vast amount of grand energy poured out from his hand. In an instant, his entire emperor's body, starting from his head, started to crumble and explode. He was annihilated on the spot. This was self-destruction. If others wanted to kill him, it would be as difficult as ascending the heavens. However, if he wanted to die, it was the easiest thing in the world. On the spot, his body was ground to dust, and there was no trace of life left. Good! Now that his body saw it, his black hair danced wildly behind his head as he laughed maniacally. With a kind of arrogance, his entire emperor's body was annihilated. It turned into dust. In the void, the invisible fire of destiny appeared out of nowhere. At the place where his body fell, a white stone formed out of thin air. On the stone, a figure that was exactly the same as Sakra was engraved on it. A kind of aura that existed in the present constantly spread out and circulated within it. In an instant, it shot out quickly and broke through the void. Whoosh! In the light of 3 lives on the battlefield, a black stone and a snow-white stone appeared out of thin air and floated up and down. Mortal life stone, earth life stone. The shifter emperor actually slashed his body consecutively in 15 minutes and used the fire of destiny to form a life stone. Now, the body is the most difficult to sever. How did he do it? Also, where is the shifter emperor now? Is he going to the future to sever his future body? The goddess of wisdom took a deep breath and muttered. Countless lights of wisdom flickered in her mind as she quickly calculated D. Shirtian's intentions in her mind. One had to know that the most mysterious thing about the future was not to sever one's future body, but to sever one's connection with destiny. To cut off one's destiny. To intercept one's destiny. To intercept one's future. To form a destiny stone. It was not to sever one's future body. To sever one's destiny was to stop existing in one's destiny and create one's own future. Without an unprecedented power, it was impossible to sever one's connection with destiny. Moreover, there was only one chance to sever one's destiny, and that was during the short period of time in the light of 3 lives. Once one failed to sever one's destiny, there would be no need to create a future. How could the shifter emperor sever his 2 bodies so quickly? The 9 fiend ancestors were also greatly shocked by the scene before them. Although the light of 3 lives was severed, it was still very dangerous. Without experiencing it, one would never understand how dangerous it was. Rumble! At this moment, in the light of 3 lives, a purple-gold divine light suddenly shot up into the sky. Within the divine light, D. Shirtian's emperor body mysteriously appeared again. The aura on his body became even more mysterious, as if it was above heaven and earth at any time. Countless chains of laws shuttled through his flesh. My destiny is determined by my own heart and will never be controlled by the river of destiny. My heart is the future. Sword of the heart, sever the future. Whoosh! A purple-gold Taoist sword shot out from his heart and slashed down toward his head. There was a cracking sound. The river of destiny above his head suddenly collapsed. It was completely shattered. Countless fragments of destiny gathered at the center at an astonishing speed. In the blink of an eye, they turned into a purple stone. It seemed to contain an unfathomable destiny. Heaven, earth, and man, the 3 stones become one. 3 lives, 3 generations. My destiny is mine, not the heavens. Ruler's life providence, gather. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidien. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.